Guess I'll call the meeting to order at 6:34.
So Jill said that she can't hear us.
Right, we were on mute, but
Okay,
now we're not.
no, we're not.
Hopefully everyone can hear us. So I'll call the meeting to order at 6:34 on September 9th, 2024. Any additions or removal or adjustment of agenda items?
Well, I don't know that it needs to be added, but I do propose adding an item to the consent agenda to acknowledge that Du Bois and King is asking for an extension of their contract on the accessible town parks project from September to November 30th.
Okay.
Which I think ordinarily I can just do that administratively, but because it's a contract and
Sure.
there's a little fuzzy line there, I will just throw it on.
Okay, so let's add that as number 6.
Yeah.
Good, because I already did.
You're way ahead. All right, let me just write that down so I don't forget.
Contract amendment.
All right, let's see. Number 2, overview of Zoom meeting operations. Everyone knows this by now. Everyone is muted, which is nice. And if you want to participate, please be recognized by the chair or myself. 2, public forum. Anyone for any discussion that's not on the agenda for this evening? You have 5 minutes per person. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Item 3, department head roundtable. Let's start with Eric, Department of Public Works.
We're working on Pine Street right now, getting it shaped up. We should finish that tomorrow. They're gonna be coming in Wednesday to pave.
Okay.
This one in front page form today.
Oh, thank you. And then for the width on the road, I'm gonna probably pave it as wide as I can. So I'm probably looking at between 21 and 22 feet wide. That's just for the simple provision that if it ever comes down to adding that white line for pedestrians and stuff, we'll have some type of a place to put it.
Okay.
So that was my thought on doing that, to get ahead of the schedule,
Yeah.
so to speak. Let's see what else, we've been drawing winter sand now for about a week. Let's see, Lincoln Road, I checked on them this morning. The drill rig is there for the drilling and pinning. I don't think they did much work on it today up there.
How was it? There was in the report, or one of the, I think, valves, we talked about the light that was put in at Atkins, is that right?
On
what-
Atkins Road, near the Lincoln Road end.
So I knew about the one that was on Briggs Hill, that very first bit as you go up it. So what was the Atkins one? That was new to me.
That was reported before, I told you guys about that 2 weeks or.
Oh, okay,
Days ago.
okay.
It was to do with, because that section through there was narrow.
Ah, okay,
It wouldn't allow 2 traffic to meet, at least I didn't think it was safe. So, we ended up deciding to put up a set of traffic lights
okay.
to alleviate that, and then.
Is that in our jurisdiction, or is that, okay,
Lincoln's,
okay.
so.
Have you previously reached out to Lincoln before we put it up, in terms of letting them know?
Well, you can get on that when you get up to that agenda.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I couldn't remember that, but I figured it was something, okay.
Yeah.
So,
What else is there? I think that's about it, not really too extensive right now. We didn't start the trimming on the sidewalks yet. Planning on hopefully starting that Thursday. Just with the paving and getting the road shaped up and then I got a grant work I gotta do tomorrow and possibly Wednesday, so. Just haven't had time.
okay, is trimming your crew or
No,
outside crew?
I've got Greg Butler's coming in
Oh, okay.
to do the trimming, and then I'm gonna go with him to pick up the stuff and throw it in the truck.
Okay,
So he knows how to prune the way it's supposed to be done,
Yeah.
so hopefully we won't have that issue.
Do you have a list of spots that you're hitting, or is it just like a
Everything.
visual?
Everything. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Anything else?
Nope, I think that covers everything.
Okay. Thanks, Eric.
Oh, one other thing.
Yeah.
There's. There's this, I'm thinking about doing, it's a frost weather station. It's its own weather station. I was thinking about putting one up in the upper notch. So it has a camera, it has a sensor on it that reads road temperature, ambient temperature, barometric pressure, wind, digital. It does a little forecast, like, you know, rain starting whenever, snow starting whenever. So it's a lease on the unit, they send you the unit, and then you put it up, and it's a lease per year on it.
$3,000.
Yeah,
So what does it get us that we don't currently have?
I'm hoping it will help me from going up checking roads all the time. Because sometimes you get no snow here, but up there, Lincoln's the same way, you know, they always get snow, and I get it up there, and this way here, I could look in the camera and see. It probably won't, I'll probably still run up and check, it's just me, but.
We could just call Jimmy.
Well, I thought about putting a ring camera up at Chris Cramps, and he said I could. And so that's another option.
Okay.
But I was just, it was one I wanted to try, and then if it did work, and it worked good, there was other places I would put other cameras.
Yeah.
Is it one lease for the,
It's one unit, it's 3,000 per unit,
okay,
per year.
Is a ring camera cheaper?
Yeah, but it doesn't give you the road temperature
Yeah.
or anything, it just shows you.
And the batteries run out pretty quickly.
Right.
Yeah, this one, if I did that scenario, Chris did say that I could hardwire it into the house.
Okay.
So, like I said, that is an option, we and him already talked about it.
Yeah.
He did give me permission to do it, if I in turn decided to do it.
So with that, it's obviously a connection to a residence up there. For the other one you're talking about, the one that for 3,000, how does that work? Is that a cellular connection or?
It's, satellite,
Solar.
solar, battery, and, it runs off satellite.
Oh, satellite. Okay.
So you got an app on your phone from the company,
Got
and you can check, it's got live view, you can check it, you can check all the data in real time.
Okay.
So it was a thought, and it's like Val and I were talking, it's not a dire, you know, right
Yeah.
now. It's just something that I've been looking at, thinking about, and so we could talk about it more at, you know, an agenda item on a different meeting or something.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
all right, anything else there? Sorry to be late, you guys.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm
Eric was
good.
the first one. Oh, okay. Sharon, you wanna go next?
Sure. This week, Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be at training in Montpelier. Chris will be going to training on Thursday. Gail is supposed to work Thursday by herself. It'll be reduced hours, but if something happens with her mom, we may be forced to close the office on Thursday. Just give you a heads up, because there won't be anybody to man the office. The election ballots should be showing up at people's houses starting next week for the November election. So it's just a lot of different things going on.
Val, are you working remotely on Thursday or?
No, I'll be here,
Okay, so there'll be two people in the building,
Mhm.
in Meredith.
but the vault will be closed.
Right, no, I understand. Okay, anything else?
No, I think that's it for now.
Okay, Meredith?
Yeah, actually, so I'd like to introduce to you, Aiden Linehan. He is our new recreations program coordinator. I'm pretty excited about that. Aiden starts September 24th, which is a Tuesday, the week before Harvest Fest. So we will be
Turn him right into the fire.
right into it, so I'm pretty excited. So I just wanted to introduce him. If you had any questions to ask, this would be a great time to ask.
feel free.
Anybody have any questions?
I know the gentleman, and I don't have any questions. I think he's an excellent choice for that position, and I'm glad that he got it.
Yeah, just a little backstory, Aiden's helped out quite a bit with Bristol Core and other events here in
For
Bristol.
many years, yeah. And I live on West Street in Bristol, down from the fire department. So I've lived in Bristol and Lincoln area for 40 years. I graduated that age.
So you know how to get to the office and back?
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay.
And I've worked with some of you in this room, so.
Any questions for him? Jessica, you got any questions for him? I don't see.
No, but welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
All right.
anything else?
Other things that are happening, like I said, Bristol Harvest Fest on the 28th. I am not here, I'm on vacation starting right after this meeting, so I won't be back until Monday the 16th, so I won't be here to be an assistance for anybody coming in on Thursday.
Okay.
Other than that, Bristol Youth Sports started today, soccer program, over 100, almost 200 kids, so, yeah, pretty exciting, so.
Good. Bruce, you see you're up on the screen? Anything for us?
Yeah, good evening. So for the month of August, we had 309 calls for service. 4 of our investigations resulted in criminal citations for charges. We had 39 traffic stops. On the 28th, there was a burglary at the Champlain Farms. Somebody broke through the glass door, stole cartons of cigarettes. So if anybody's got information about that, we'd like to hear from you. And with Briggs Hill, traffic lights there, we are getting many complaints about speed on Briggs Hill. So I'm trying to find a location to bring the portable speed cart, and some of our traffic hours we'll spend on Briggs Hill to hopefully alleviate some of that. That's it.
All right, thank you. I didn't see Brett up there.
Nope.
He's not on tonight.
Yeah, Brett's
He's
not.
on- He's in the common officers meeting. Okay. Consent agenda, approval of minor change in the recent approved property tax rate due to a change in the grand list. Number 2, approve authorization to apply for the Vermont Division for Historical Preservation for a 50/50 grant. Excuse me, of up to 20,000 for renovations to Holly Hall. Approve and sign the municipal letter of adaptation for the downtown vibrant fund grant. Approve the annual Harvest Fest plan on the town green and Stampede 2.0 5K walkathon for Saturday, September 28th, 2024. Approve access permit for application 2024-03DA for TNM Blueberry LLC at 68 Pine Street per the DN Department of Public Works foreman's recommendation.
And we added a number 6 of the Du Bois and King contract amendment.
Du Bois and King contract.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, any other? Jessica, you agree with that?
Yep, I'm ready to vote.
Okay,
I do, I would like to ask whether the taxes went up or down.
Oh, up.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
because it went
rate went
from
up.
1.321 to 954 value, so it dropped almost $368,000.
The grand list.
What did we lose?
It's in your-
Firehouse department, yes. They valued them at the higher rate. They appealed it and they talked to PDR and found out that there's 2 different ways to do it, and the way that they did it was not correct for what they were using for information. Basically, the CLA, you can't do 100%. We don't have 100% CLA, and we only have a 71. So it dropped it 368,000, so tax rate went up a little.
Wonderful.
Yeah, here's the summary.
Let's see. Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yeah, the grant for the 20,000, if we identified what we're looking at, that I saw that we've got some stuff in there, but it's just
Window
we know that we-
repair, the balcony repair upstairs.
Yeah.
And what was the other?
So there's the framing to the stained glass window on this side of the south side, the little balcony above the porch.
Yeah.
Some masonry work on the porch, that's the brick, that's kind of like disintegrating.
Any roof work?
The roof work was in there, I mean, we're still kind of in a contract with Rooster Construction to finish what he's. I can't remember, Valerie, maybe you know if that was, we were able to put that in there, or if it's because it's done.
I have the stained glass window frame, step railings and balcony.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for an estimate from Brewster Construction,
For the insurance company.
yeah.
Would the historic preservation grant cover like the replacement of the ceiling, the acoustic ceiling, where the water has come in? Or is that like a
Well,
separate?
it's wrapped up in the insurance claim,
Okay,
so.
And they're just waiting for an estimate.
Chris Hahn, anybody knows him, stop him, ask him.
I mean, the reality is, this has been going on how long? I mean,
a long time.
A year.
December, whatever that
Well,
storm was in
but there-
December.
There are two different areas, right?
Or 22.
I mean, that was the first round of damage, and then it's
Which is-
gotten worse.
Like, and then it's, but then you have damage here and then we have over here, right?
Over here, and
And we can see the slates missing from that side roof.
I mean, my question with it is, I guess we have a contract-ish with Rooster, but it's been months.
Okay.
It's only gonna get worse, and the weather's turning.
Yeah.
Is it time to move on to another vendor? I'm
Okay.
sorry, I mean, I like Chris a lot, I know him, but he's been non-responsive.
So we've been following up, but not being able to get
Every
anything
3
from him.
weeks, I would say, there's a text or an email sent to him.
Okay,
And at some point, the insurance company could say we're closing this because there's
I
no
see.
movement. Which is
Okay.
a possibility.
do we have other vendors that we might want to look at that can do this
Not
kind of
yet, but
work?
I mean, originally I had, Silas Clark help me out with Chelm. Chelm, I think that's the name.
Chris, yeah.
Chris, yeah.
Had come over and taken a look at it, and, but then at that time, Chris was like, I got it.
Okay.
So I said, no, thanks, Chelm, thank you very much, got this guy.
Okay, well, I think,
I'm gonna revisit.
Yeah.
I would.
I think so too, because I mean, as you said, Sharon, if we lose the ability to actually run it through the insurance, then,
The work's still not done, but it's still gotta be done.
yeah.
And then we gotta pay for it all.
Yeah, I would say, and I don't know if that needs to be an agenda item or if that can just be decided to look. I would recommend looking to other contractors, just because it's been a certain amount of time. We've done plenty of outreach to the contractor that we've used, but we need to move on this.
Mhm.
So I'd recommend.
9,
that.
10 months. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? Jessica, you got any questions for this consent agenda?
Nope.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, so all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstain, I'm abstaining. Because of number 5. Okay, ayes have it. Okay, regular business, meet with Lincoln Town officials regarding Briggs Hill Road closure coordination.
So Trish is here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm Trish Waugh, I'm the town administrator for Lincoln. I've been there since July 22nd, and Amanda Allen, one of our select board members, is on Zoom. And we just
nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Miranda.
Hi there.
wanted to start the conversation. You know, Bristol is the closest entity to Lincoln that has grocery and everything, so it's really a main destination for our shopping and our post office, everything. And Lincoln Road closure affects us greatly. We just we're in the middle of a traffic study right now, and we have gotten an estimate, there's about 1,700 people a day that use Lincoln Road. Between deliveries and just regular commuters, I mean, life has changed with a lot of people commuting out of Lincoln right now, and aside from Lincoln Road, there are not great options. So we just wanted to be part of the conversation with the Lincoln Road closure, and the possibility of closing Briggs Hill permanently. I mean, we know it's not our road, and I don't know how we can assist in this whole process. We would love to in any way possible that we can.
Send money.
Yeah. I wish we-
Yeah, that
I wish
easy.
we
Somebody
had
got,
that.
somebody got involved.
But we just wanted to get some face, you know, personal touch into this, just so you can see our plate, should something happen and Lincoln Road be closed and Briggs Hill Road is closed and there is just no way in and out of Bristol.
No convenient way.
Yeah, no convenient way in and out of Lincoln, for deliveries, for emergency services. So once again, we know there's not much we can do about it because it's kind of on your side of the tracks, but just to open up the communication. I mean, I appreciate everything you guys did with Lincoln Road and trying to notify the public about it. But like the traffic light, we had no idea the traffic light was there. All of a sudden, we're getting phone calls from people on Atkins Road that were so angry with us. And our select board met last week and decided, you know, we've been through this before and it's an area that people have just dealt with. It's a narrow road. We haven't had problems in the past and we requested Valerie and Eric take the traffic signal back out again. But like just to be part of that original discussion would have been awesome.
I agree.
And, you know, alternatives around what we could do in a case like that.
Eric, you did reach out face to face with the road foreman of Lincoln, correct?
I talked to him on the phone.
I'll talk to him on the phone
Yeah, and then.
before the lights went up on.
Yeah, we got a Zoom meeting here with him and Wayne and Trish and Joe Martell and who else was there?
Yeah, and Tim McGowan, our
Tim
chair.
McGowan was there.
But I don't think we were aware,
No,
at least none of us remember
Yeah.
the Atkins light. We remember the other light.
Well, I remember talking about the other light, and then that's when Joe said about the road being unstable. And I did mention to him about putting another set of lights up over on the other end because it's so narrow. And then he probably, in that midst of conversation, everybody stuck with the Brick Hill lights and the safety issue there. And so I think that probably played a part in it because everybody concentrated on the Briggs Hill part. I mean, it wasn't a lengthy conversation by no means that, you know, about putting the other set of lights up. It was just, I mentioned that we were going to put them up and then that was it. There was no discussion back and forth or anything like that. And then they kept on, you know, talking about Briggs Hill safety, which is a legitimate thing.
I think they were also mentioned in the draft ad that was sent out ahead of time to have folks review.
Right, and it's fine. I mean, you know, it's no big deal. We put them up and they discussed it and they didn't want them, we took them down.
Right, yeah, I'm not making a big deal out of it at all. I appreciate.
And the stories.
There's no blame here, but it could have had
A
more.
lot of the stuff that we deal with, we don't know what's wrong until people get all upset. And, you know, we've tried countless ways of reaching out to people to inform people and until it directly affects them, it's usually not an issue. And then when it directly affects them, that's when you get the feedback and you know, we have this conversation almost monthly about how do we reach more people and how do we inform people? And you can only inform the people that want to be informed.
Yeah, we have the same exact problem, and we know.
And, you know, how is not Briggs Hill, but how is the Lincoln Road project coming?
The first hole is all dug out and they're all down in the river. So now they're in the process of starting the drilling and pinning. So the drill rig is up there that got moved in today. So my guess is they'll start the drilling and stuff tomorrow.
Is that the bigger of the two spots or both the same size?
They're what,
You and
about
Peter
roughly
know
about the same size. same
Yeah,
height.
probably about the same. I think that one's probably a little bigger.
It's a little deeper, the
Yeah.
upper one's a little deeper.
So are we somewhat, you think, the 30 days, you know, early October?
Well, they didn't work today because the engineer showed up and there's been a change of plans that we're supposed to talk about tonight, or are we talking about that?
I only learned about it from Eric about
Yeah, I
an
learned
hour
about
ago.
it this morning at 9 o'clock this morning.
Oh, you find.
I'm just trying
They
to,
finally showed up.
you know, trying to appease everyone to say that, you know, there is light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, or there is going to be coming back at least a single lane road first and then maybe a double lane, or no?
No.
Just gonna be till it's double lane?
It'll be fully open when it gets opened up.
Okay.
I think.
Don't
the
wanna see it
second-
dragging
the
on.
second
They're
dig-
supposed to start drawing rock tomorrow.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
you
second
know that.
dig, I think will go a little quicker because it's not as deep. than the one that they're on now, so that should go a little quicker as far as the digging part goes, but it all depends on how the drilling goes for the pinning.
Yeah, well, part of the issue is, I think the engineers realize that the flood relief, the wall doesn't have to be built all the way to the top on the upper site. Because there's flood relief on the other side, you only need wall to a point above the flood relief.
Yeah.
And then they can just, what are they talking and doing above that? At geotech,
Yes,
which is,
basically just stones.
Yeah.
So they just stone back underneath the road, and then they just keep working their way up that way.
There's no easy solution, I guess there is, it will get done.
Oh, yeah, the
Before we
temporary
know what,
closure,
say,
we're whatever with, it's just the possibility of Bristol being closed altogether. And, it's like very expensive to fix that one side. And there's other areas that are, we've had, three landslides over the last
on Briggs
2
Hill.
years
Yeah.
on Lincoln Road from Briggs Hill, yeah. So even if one area is fixed, there's still.
there could be the
That's
possibility of
areas.
more, yeah.
Right.
But the figure, I don't know if you heard the figure that the engineers gave us, but it's 2.4 million to fix that, and it's not.
In just those two specific
Yeah.
lots, not to
Right.
mention all the other stuff.
So like I said, I know there's no easy answer other than us all winning the lottery, but, we just wanted to put a face
Yeah.
to this, just so you can see. I'm one of the
I agree.
1,700 people that travels on that road every day to come down to.
Not for the next month.
True, very true.
I think it's also important to underscore the importance of open communication between us two towns and including us in conversations and keeping us in the loop too, so we can communicate with the folks in our town and have an idea of what's going on with the road closures too.
Well, now having met Trish, now
Yeah.
that she's on board and I think we'll be able to keep that going pretty well.
Right.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would love for us to all be working whatever we need to work on in the future together.
One suggestion I do have, I think folks are aware that I did have a conversation with a group of property owners across from Eagle Park about exploring the notion of an alternative access. If Briggs Hill does get closed, can we build another access between the Briggs Hill Atkins Road and Lincoln Road? That one didn't work out. But I don't know if there are other options on the Lincoln side. So folks on your side of the town line might have a better idea about that in terms of slope, in terms of landowner openness to the idea.
I think after you leave that area you're talking about, the bank gets very steep all the way, the rest of the way, all the way up to Atkins, in between Atkins and Lincoln Road.
And unfortunately, just a bypass through there isn't gonna help us all get down to 116 any easier.
Peter remembers, it was before Ian's time and Jessica's time on the board, but there was he's retired now for Addis County Regional Planning, that he recommended that we permanently close, because this was like in 98 when we lost the road in Bristol Road, Bristol Lincoln Road, that we permanently close the Bristol Lincoln Road and just upgrade Briggs Hill and make that the permanent access to Lincoln. Boy, I'm not sure I'm gonna go down that road. One or the other. So, and it's ironically now.
Now it's the opposite now.
Yeah.
Still road probably ought to be
So,
closed.
okay, anything more? For your,
No, just to pursue that thought just a little bit more, if in fact there is some sort of alignment that, with whatever engineering magic can be accomplished. I don't know the answer to the question if, with the FEMA hazard mitigation funds, it's our current understanding, it could change tomorrow, that the 2 million through FEMA could be used to pay to relocate a road. What I don't know is if that can be used to pay for a relocation in a different town. So I just don't know the answer to that. I would think so, if it's a collaboration and if all the agreements and all the legalities are worked out. But, because it is what it is. So anyway, just want to keep that in mind as a potential resource.
For your traffic study, what do you want that outcome to be? What are you looking for in terms of that study?
It's more in our downtown center. Amanda, do you wanna pipe in on that one?
Yeah, our traffic study is focused on our downtown area and what we can do in terms of calming measures to keep folks going the speed limit. So it's not really in the area that is impacted by the road closure. It's more focused in town.
Okay.
Unfortunately, what you'll find out is if the speed on the survey comes back faster than what the posted speed is, they're gonna tell you can't lower the speed because they're already going faster than, so it must be safe. That's what they told us on East Street.
Yeah, East Street.
The average speed down through there is what, 37 or something like that, and we wanted to change it to 25 and they said no.
Well, the way the state looks at it, if you're looking primarily just to change the speed limit, that's what they have an issue against. You need to have other ways of mitigating the speed. And so you change the design of the road or do speed bumps, things like that, as opposed to just change your speed of your signs.
Yeah,
So-
they've come up with lots of options, narrowing the road,
Yeah.
the bike lanes,
Yeah.
some of which we all have in place already,
Right,
but there's still concerns.
yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, but thank you, I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
You can stay the rest of the meeting.
No, that's okay, I have my own. It was good to
Yeah.
meet everybody,
Thank you.
though.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you, man. Review and discuss the Bristol Hazardous Mitigation Plan draft update with Stephanie Magin, and Seam Solutions.
Stephanie is in the audience.
Hello there.
I'm gonna sit over here so I don't have to.
Okay.
You can come right up.
Yeah, join us at the table, then the camera can get you.
Yeah, you should be right in the spotlight.
So Stephanie Magnan, Seam Solutions. I'm located in Barry, Vermont. I was hired by the town to update the hazard mitigation plan. So with the recent flooding, we've been in a kind of a fast track to get the plan, at least the draft plan prepared by September 20th, which is 30 days after the declaration. So the town needs to have a active hazard mitigation plan in order to be eligible for FEMA funding. So we are in the process of getting a very rough draft ready that we can present on September 20th. So what we've been doing is going through and looking at the community profile. What capabilities does the town have? Where is there room for improvement? We look at all the hazards, and when I say hazards, they are the natural hazards that the state hazard mitigation plan has identified. So currently, there's no reason why you can't include man-made hazards if it's important to the town. It's just not assessed by FEMA when they evaluate the plan. So we go through all of the hazards that the state hazard mitigation plan identifies, which includes fluvial erosion, inundation, flooding, cold, heat, drought, so on and so forth, tornadoes,
Just wind.
wind, and in that is tornadoes. So we prioritize those hazards and we take the top elements of those and then break down into what things the town wants to work on in the next 5 years, identifying actions that they can help to mitigate future damage to the town. And so we look at critical infrastructure and how that is affected by hazards. We have to document what plans we refer to when we're updating the plan to make sure that the various town plans, like the town plan, the zoning, and the hazard mitigation plan all kind of intermingle and work off of each other.
Yeah, so these are some of the documents that were reviewed.
And so all of those elements help you know, with each of the hazards, you have to look at, the probability, past history, what's the future probability, what are the, impacts, the vulnerabilities of each of the hazards, and, if you could scroll back up a little bit.
Okay.
So, working through this process, the committee identified invasive species, strong wind, extreme cold and snow, and floods. And the floods include flash flooding, inundation flooding, fluvial erosion. And I believe we actually split out the fluvial erosion and the flash flooding, because they're two separate incidents. One is along the river, the flash flooding is more along the roadways. And so we rank the hazards and then we prioritize them. And in this case, invasive species was one, strong wind, we just talked about that, the snow and flooding. And so then we look at the community capabilities and areas for improvement for those hazards.
And then there's also data that describes some of the historical events and some of the metrics.
And the extent of these events. We try to, so I believe the last plan was over 100 pages.
I don't know.
I think, so we're trying to condense it and make it a little bit more intuitive and basically to the point, so it's easier to read, easier to implement. And so that little box right there, vulnerability summary, is kind of summarizes everything on the past 15 pages into a nice, neat package, so it's easy to read, almost like an executive summary. And then from all this, we identify actions that are going to be accomplished in the next 5 years for each of the hazards, and also across 4 areas of plans, infrastructure, natural resources, and outreach.
Does this include anything like dredging of the rivers? You know, like part of the problem with our fluvial floodplain down in South Bristol is the fact that there's so much gravel that's washed down from above that it's flattened it out, so the river's, 2-3 inches deep and 100 feet wide.
So
And so the minute it rains, it's out of its banks because there's no riverbed.
Right.
And I'm just curious if it allows for anything like that to try to mitigate this, or if it's, yes.
It doesn't necessarily allow, it puts into writing that the town is interested in doing, say, some berm removal, or it doesn't bypass the process, unfortunately, of having to go to the Agency of Natural Resources.
Yeah, well, you're not gonna play in the water unless you talk to them anyway.
Right, so having it identified as an action helps justify, you've done the research, and this is something that the town feels is a priority to actually try to accomplish in the next 5 years. It's not a guarantee, unfortunately, because obviously you've probably dealt with the permitting process, so.
And we have met with the state about doing some dredging in an area that was chuck pull and changed the course of the river, and basically they said no.
That was up here on Willis Creek and
Up
meets
by-
in Haven River, right?
Yeah,
The backside of Tooth Hollow,
backside, yes.
the old Tooth Hollow, yeah.
And how long ago was that?
2 years?
2 years
2
ago.
years ago, okay.
I mean, there's everything that came out of the Lincoln Road in 98 and 04 is setting right in that corner. And the river rerouted to the north, and it's taken the land from the people that live up above, because it's all sand and it just keeps falling. And, we discussed one, mining it and crushing it to reuse it for our roads. But there again, there's invasive species, Japanese knotweed, and they said it has to go somewhere and not be touched. And then we talked about the possibility of maybe putting it up on where the river had gone and building that up, and they said no, because there's nothing there big enough to control the water that comes down through there. So I mean, it just, you have these ideas and it's not your fault, but somebody has to make up their mind that we're gonna have to be able to do some of this stuff, or we're gonna lose infrastructure.
Right. So, correct me if I'm wrong, you said a lot of the, fill that's going into, is it the Lewis Creek?
The intersection of
It's
Lewis Creek.
coming-
No, it's not Lewis Creek.
It's coming,
Lewis Creek goes the other way.
yeah.
What's that?
Baldwin.
Baldwin
Yes,
Creek, sorry,
yes.
Baldwin Creek. you're
It's coming from the road washing out, is that correct?
It came
So-
from, the Lincoln Road is washed out twice, and, you know, that's where the water get, or the gravel gets deposited, is in that corner.
So instead of, I mean, obviously you wanna look at creating a better floodplain. So you wanna do some floodplain restoration, but also looking at, it's kind of like a twofold, it's building up the road in a way that it's not going to wash out.
Which is what we're doing, that's why Lincoln Road is closed.
Right, and keep feeding it into, it's looking at it more holistically than like, an instance here and
Yeah.
there, and that's. A lot of towns are starting to look at it more and working with other towns to figure out through a river corridor what they can do, because even if you go in
Yeah.
this one spot here and dredge it out, unless you're fixing what's coming down,
Absolutely.
it's only going to refill the area, so.
I mean, is there also anything about, slide up to that tree on Garfield or Church Street if you could? Of, nobody likes to take these these old mature trees down. But as you can see there on that house on Church Street, almost crushed that house. But there's no money for that in this plan or it's kind of like, you could take it down for 3,000, but if it crushes the house, the insurance company, and somebody's gonna have to maybe hundreds of thousands to repair. But there's no
money in this plan at all. This is.
No, no.
plan.
But
It
there's no-
identifies issues and how the town.
They
is
don't
going to
recognize
mitigate it.
that. though.
So
do
if
that.
I'm not mistaken, that there's a new shade tree plan mandate that came out this year.
Well, not a mandate,
It
but
was,
we
It'll
have,
be 2 years.
yeah.
It's a recommendation now, in 2 years it'll be a mandate.
Oh.
How things go. It won't be. No, I don't, I'm
But it's-
jokingly off the cuff saying.
But it's looking at risk like that.
Mhm.
I mean, I tell a real quick story. Where I lived for 38 years, we had 2 huge maples like that in front of our house. And Green Mountain Power showed up one day and wanted to strip the side of them off. And I said, no overnight dead body. Because they'll just lean towards my house. And Green Mountain Power, my insurance company in the town, Eric was still working here, then, got together and Green Mountain Power said, we'll pay to have them taken down. You pay a fee to us. And if the town agrees, because if they come down, they're gonna wreck their lines or my house, or go across the road. And it was a 3-way agreement that I paid a little bit to Green Mountain Power to help take them down. Green Mountain Power had them taken down, and the town picked up the big things and said, we can do that with our lawyer. That was the 3-way concept, and my house is safe to this day now. Those trees are all gone.
Right.
And that's why I'm wondering if there was more dialogue like that in these plans, where,
So it said.
why wait for it to happen?
Right,
Try to
and
prevent
that's what a mitigation plan is all about, is identifying critical infrastructure and figuring out ways to mitigate damage like that. And in the action identification, you're looking at the funding source. So it doesn't necessarily say that there's funding available, but it could be through a collaborative effort of finding some grants, having some town payment, and working with the utilities. Looking at somebody that's gonna take ownership of this project. To say it's the road foreman. and then looking at a timeline. And so if there is funding available, it helps justify because you've identified, you've fully researched this as a hazard and would like to mitigate it in the future to prevent future damage.
But on the subject of trees, though, the ad hoc tree committee is working with Public Works and Steve Palmer with the Waterline project and Jill to identify, I think we've come up with a list of trees for this year that should be taken down or trimmed and replaced. And we've got that $50,000 grant through the state Forest and Parks to help us do that. Plus the town budgets money every year for tree maintenance. So that's going to be an ongoing initiative to get ahead of the trees and make sure that the healthy ones stay healthy and the ones that aren't healthy, well, we get ahead of it.
Okay.
So I jumped ahead to when we met last, you were working on a table, a matrix to show.
Show all the different actions. So
Right.
yeah, so that's,
Is that in here yet? or no?
it is not.
Okay, that's what I
Unfortunately.
was looking for.
So.
Okay. But so this then currently lists them just in a narrative form.
Right, so one of the parts, and I think you're getting, yeah, I see where you're getting confused. I pulled some actions from the prior plan that weren't completed. So we reviewed the actions
Yeah.
from the prior plan, identified the ones that were completed. So this is kind of like, I'm not going to. So there was a report that just came out from Digger about the state hazard mitigation plan and not following through with the actions. So we're doing our due diligence and looking at the past actions and making sure that the ones that are relevant that weren't completed actually come forward
To be completed.
to be completed in this new plan.
And assigning responsibility for doing it and seeing what resources are available.
Right.
To do it.
Boy, Eric, you better hide.
I know.
Yeah.
Or clone yourself.
2 Erics.
I know.
That's pretty scary. in
Bonus.
itself.
Right there.
That's scary in itself.
You need a plan.
Okay. What was in terms of the previous plan, what percentage of projects did we complete?
That's a good question. I don't have that exact number.
Okay. Just
We could
curious.
definitely identify that
Yeah.
because we've gone through,
And I feel like we've done a lot of work, but then of course.
and a lot of it's ongoing
it's just-
too.
Yeah,
Um,
and how extreme some of the storms can be, then obviously dictate what happens and what gets destroyed or what gets worn down quicker than we initially thought. What are you looking in terms of us? Obviously, we're gonna look through this and there's a lot of yellow highlighted. Are there specific areas that you'd like us to look at? It's obviously a long document.
Probably, I would say probably the actions for the new plan. Kind of take a look at that blue table that looks at the hazards.
Yeah.
Making sure, and I haven't included in the community survey. So part of it is getting outreach,
Yeah.
getting input from residents
Yeah.
and from the select board. Making sure that this is in alignment with what you think is the goal of the town.
Okay.
Trying to find that too. Oh, there it is. So even though this needs to be submitted by September 20th, we're still going, yeah, I
Yeah.
know. We'll still be working on it.
Yeah.
And we expect to get comments back from Vermont Emergency Management folks after they've had a chance to review the draft, and we'll be able to take those comments and integrate them into what we are continuing to do. And then at some point, does the select board need to have a public hearing? What's the next process for the official adoption?
So the official adoption is, it's way at the end, you adopt it and then it goes back to FEMA. There's the final page has the adoption. So it's just a signing of the document that you acknowledge that this is our plan for the next 5 years. There is the more public outreach, the more the select board that can look at it is really good
Yeah.
and documented. FEMA at least wants to see that the town is attempting to get feedback from the community and stakeholders, vulnerable populations, surrounding communities, and then regional support like the RPCs, V-Trans, A&R. We'll definitely be putting this draft bill and make it available for them to review.
Okay.
And after this September 20th deadline, are there other key deadline dates or dates in particular that we need to pay attention to?
Just the grant expiration. If the grant comes close to expiring, we need to reach out to VEM and extend that grant.
I think it's 2026.
So yeah, you've got plenty of time.
Don't say that.
So, I know,
Never-
I say that, I still have one from last year that has not been approved, so. So once it is submitted on the 20th, we still will be working on it, and we can actually still submit updates as they become available.
Are you submitting a draft on the 20th, or does it need to be?
Draft,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And I would expect it's going to take at least 2 months to get any kind of feedback from VEM. I have 4 that I'm submitting. I would imagine that there's a lot of other communities that are having to submit also to qualify for the FEMA funding, so it's a bit of a process. Plus, they're also dealing with all the HMGP pre-app, which they said was going to be 80 million, I think. $345 million has been applied for, so.
With 2 of those.
Yes.
So when it gets submitted, what are they looking at in terms of, they're obviously looking at it in detail, but then what are the specifics that they're gonna come back to us with?
Hopefully not a lot.
Right.
So there's a review tool that we fill out
Okay.
and submit, and there's certain element requirements that they want to look for to make it, so they can approve it.
Okay.
And if it's weak or there's missing elements, that's what they'll comment on and supply that review tool back. And it's kind of a back and forth process.
Okay.
They put comments in, we make the updates, and we comment back, and it's kind of a iterative process.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
It's work, there's a lot of work in it, and still a lot of, it is a draft, and get it submitted, get on the list,
Yes,
get on the list.
that's the important thing, so you can get FEMA funding, so.
Okay.
So if we're
Yeah.
sending it out for, sorry, Bill, if we're sending it out for public comment, are there, I mean, given again, as I said, it's a long document. I feel we're gonna lose some people for asking for public feedback. Same response in terms of areas that members of the public should look at specifically, just to see, or.
That's a good question.
You're trying to get feedback.
Right,
Obviously, if
it's-
you're-
I would
if you're
say
saying,
that-
Here's a 56-page document, take a look through and let us know,
Right,
like, we're not gonna get.
It's too long.
so,
And you got 10 days to get it. back.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm
and it's a
saying.
lot to look at, I
Yeah.
understand. So through the community surveys, you get a lot of that feedback.
Okay.
Just by asking a couple questions, have you been impacted by a hazard?
Yeah,
What do you feel are the top 3 hazards that affect you?
Yeah.
And what do you think the town should be working on to help prevent future damage? And that's kind of like a 50,000 foot level.
Yeah, okay.
So. And quite honestly, yeah, there's not a lot of feedback from residents typically. I say that. I've said a lot in the last year and gotten, I mean,
yeah,
Well,
this year,
it all intends on whether they're.
unless it directly
Yeah,
affects
if they're
them,
directly
and
affected, you'll get feedback. If they're not, you're not gonna hear any.
it's amazing, putting out the surveys this year, the feedback. I mean, 2 years ago, we were getting 2 to 5 responses. We're getting 25 to 150 responses.
But everybody got hit by the wind, and everybody got
Right.
hit by the water, and, so. It's fresh in there. It's
Yeah.
fresh
And I,
in their
and I think
minds.
they're starting to understand, unfortunately, what mitigation means. It's, how do you prevent this in the future? And unfortunately, the state's been hit a lot in the last year
Yeah.
between the 2 floods and wind events and snow events. So not snow events, but.
Those are coming up. Yeah.
I mean,
We've been saving those, right?
I mean, the thing that reminds me is I hate to go back to telling stories here, but it was in '98 when we had the big water from Mountain Street. My brother-in-law got hit. He lost his block wall
That was
foundation.
04.
Or '04 when he lost his block foundation on his house on Mountain Street, just up above this grade school. His insurance company said, no, we don't cover that because it's a flooded damage. And he couldn't get any, he applied for state money and he couldn't get it. They said, you don't live near the river. So he would drain his savings to fix his house. And that, that, I know that's still a bad taste in his mouth. But that was the thing that, insurance company said, yeah, you didn't live by the river. So it was
Yeah,
flooded.
98
was
was the river, 04 was the water getting to the river. The rivers never really went out of their banks. It was, we got so much rain so quick, it was the water trying to get to the river that caused all the trouble.
Yeah, you're right, Peter. It was 04. So, okay. Anything else more on the?
No.
Or 7
Thank you
for us?
for coming all the
Thank
way
you.
over.
I was in Beresford, just right on the corner.
Right,
so.
right, but now you have to haul all the way back.
How would you know?
I'm gonna.
Thank you,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes,
Thank you for having me. If
Okay.
you have any questions, feel free to reach
All right.
out. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
Number 3, we'll put our water commissioner's hat on. Consider connection of application for the Thomas Plan Unit Development Subdivision off of North Street and Pine Street. The Thomases are here, along with our engineer, Jason Bird.
And in the TA report is a compilation of the recommendations from our water operator and town engineer.
And well done, Jill and Steve, on the report.
Wow,
Very easy to follow and
nice.
makes perfect sense. I think most everything is in there. I did have. So I think this was the iteration we started with originally when we were tapping by the road, using water meters in the green space between the sidewalk and the road out on North Street. Running 2-inch K copper to the water meter. There will be a curb stop in between, and then running either DR11 HDPE pipe or CTS water pipe out to where each of the dwellings will be, where there'll be individual shutoffs at each dwelling. I think probably the first one to start from Dow is maybe the S2. The S1 is the overall. You can see there's basically 2. Before you go off that, there's 2 single-family homes on the west side of the development that are proposed. Those will be accessed from Pine Street.
Okay, yeah.
And then the other duplex units will be accessed off North Street. There'll be an existing drive that'll be widened. Obviously now we've gone through with the wastewater designs. The wastewater and water permit has been submitted. That's into the state engineer for review. Worked with Steve, getting some of the meter pit details and the stuff that we need, and working with Jill and putting together the design of what we talked about before at one of the previous meetings. I think it was either June or July that we were in here last. And we did settle on with 2-inch diameter pipe, plenty of water pressure, plenty of flows. We've done the calculations out to each of the residents, really negligible friction loss, and the head change is negligible as well. It actually there's quite a drop off from Pine Street. It's pretty flat. So everything works in terms of the piping. Just had a couple quick questions for Jill and Steve that we talked about with Adam and Amber here tonight, and proposed, obviously, if we go right down through the list, most of this stuff is here. Everything obviously the AWWA certified, and we send in, or Adam and Amber could send in submissions before things are purchased with what we're going to get in terms of the product themselves. One of the questions I did have for Jill and Steve, what if it was decided to drill the pipe in instead of going with open cut? Always an option with HDPE pipe. Obviously, we'd have to pull a tracer wire. The one nice thing about this site and bedding material, it is all sand, or everything that we've seen so far has been sand, so the pipe bedding shouldn't be an issue. If they got a decent quote to directional drill this stuff in, would that be allowed?
Jill or Steve? Steve, you want? I saw his up there. Steve, you want? Or Jill?
Yeah, hey, sorry about that. I'm here. I was trying to figure out where my mute button was.
Well, at least we can hear you this week.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
Did you hear Jason's question?
I did. I had to get my tech guru involved. Yeah, I'm of the understanding that the property owner is going to own everything beyond the meter pit. And I think that's everybody's understanding.
Yeah.
So I think the infrastructure, I don't know how, I'd be interested to hear Jill's perspective. It's always nice to locate it. You can pull in, Jason, I've seen him do directional boring with tracer wire. I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about too. And they use multiple in case one gets broken or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see why not. I don't know where Jill stands on that, but you guys are your client's going to own all of the infrastructure beyond the meter pit. And if there's a problem, they're going to be responsible for fixing it and repairing it. So I wouldn't see an issue with that.
Okay.
Jill?
It's expensive, great.
Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, it's a lot less cleanup.
Yeah.
What is the material that you would be using?
Probably the HDPE pipe. They'd pull that and they'd fuse the joints.
Yeah, is it basically the same spec that's used for gas piping, or it's very thick wall?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. My problem was with that thin walled HDPE where people use a plastic barb insert and a hose clamp. That's my problem. I'm not okay with that being in the water system, because it's always going to break and it's always going to leak.
Yes. No, these would actually be the DR11, the thick walled pipes, and they would be the fuse joints.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm gonna further quantify and qualify the fact that the reason that that's great is because you guys have a meter pit.
Yep.
Are there still individual shutoffs and individual meters, or are we?
Yep. Yeah, there's individual meters at the pits, and then there's actually curbs at each one of the 4 duplexes and each one of the single family residences. So, and also I kind of specified in the approval letter to make sure that there's an easement for access. I mean, I know the ordinance gives it, but also there should be appropriate legal documentation for that permanent easement to access those shutoffs and meter sets, etc.
So the reason, just so you're aware, the reason for having individual shutoffs and individual meters is so when the day comes when you don't own it, if different people own it, then we still have the ability to shut one unit off.
Possibly do
Which is smart.
Yeah.
Smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Easy and just do it right.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to tell you, most shutoffs that happen in a water system are actually per request of the customer or their plumber. Very few shutoffs are for non-payment or any other issue. Most of them are actually to the benefit of the end user and the customer, because they're having plumbing done or there's some kind of crazy thing happening. And when there aren't individual shutoffs, more and more and more people have to be shut off, and it becomes a much bigger impact on the public and water loss. So just as a by the way, even though it sounds like this, oh my God, we're going to shut your water off, it's actually like 99% of those is actually to your benefit.
I mean, it may go to Florida for the winter.
No,
I mean, seriously, yes. There's way more benefit than there's way more carrot than stick to it, believe it or not, in real practice.
Okay.
So I did have one other question for Jill and Steve. It says, construction details for the meter pits, as we have shown. Steve provided that to us, which we use. We'll need valves on either side of the census meter on the outside of the structure. So there's valves that are inside of the structure. And there's a curb stop on the inlet side of the structure. Do we also need another shut off on the outside of the structure. I just was reading that on your.
No, I guess I didn't realize Steve put the valves on the inside. So basically, meter pits can also be seen as like a drowning vault. So we tend to put valves on the outside so that you can shut the water off before you enter inside of the vault, so that you know that for sure water is not going to enter it while you're in there semi-trapped.
Okay.
So is there,
So
but there's no need to have one on the outlet side.
I mean, I suppose it depends if it's uphill or downhill. Water travels in all directions that gravity lets it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I
But
hate
if
drowning.
you have a
So
curb stop if you have one each side on the outside, then there's no need to have two valves on
valves
the
on the
inside.
inside. Now, I was just, yeah, that's my question, because there were valves already
Instead of
proposed.
putting 4 in, you're gonna put 2 in.
yeah, you don't need to put 4, just 2, one on each side of the outside would be great.
Okay.
And I understand that on the inside, you can access them better in the winter time, but I just have to say it's that whole not drowning inside of the structure thing.
Well, we would.
I ain't going.
I don't know. Valves don't always work.
Well, that's what, I mean, if there are curb stops on the outside of the structure, they will always work when they're on the inside of the structure, but we'll be happy to put them in. If you prefer to have them on the outside of the structure, we'd have a curb stop on either side.
Okay. I'll talk to Steve offline about it and just see if there's more thought to having them on the inside. If you've got the curb on the outside, and I know I can shut the pressure of the water off, and you've got 2 valves on the inside, I suppose that's fine as well. I don't need a valve on the outside on the other side.
Okay, I think that to me, that makes sense, and I think Steve may agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that detail was just draft. It's still a work in progress, so.
Oh, I'm fine with that. That sounds fine to me. We don't need a 4th curb on the outside on the other side. I think
Right.
if you had like a gigantic hill on the other side, but it's probably flat or slightly downhill. Also wanted to mention there's another little development. There's another little development across from you guys, and I wasn't sure if there was any kind of coordination that you guys might want to have about doing your taps or paving cutting or anything of that sort, because they have two taps to do on North Street, just like a couple hundred feet from you, and you have yours. So just mentioning it that there's other stuff going on, and it's not mine to coordinate, but I just thought I'd put it out there.
Who's the landowner, Jill?
I don't remember everybody's name. I get landowners calling me, contractors calling me.
East side of North Street, right across from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you'll stand right now, so.
Yeah.
You'll brighten.
Okay.
That development.
So that's Peter?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Peter's building there now. There's
Okay,
gonna be a couple more in that field, 1 more in that field,
okay.
so. Gonna cut the road, but maybe that's the time. Okay, any more, Jill or Steve or for us, Jason?
We're looking at next spring. I mean, we still have to go conditional use, stormwater Act 250, so this is
Your way.
not
It's a
on
long,
the
long
immediate
project.
horizon, but we're.
So you're not gonna tap at the same time?
No, no. All of our ducks are in a row for the Act 250. This is one of the last.
That's right near Chris Ackers, is that
Yeah,
one of those houses?
Yeah,
Where they're putting the foundation.
Yeah.
Next week.
yeah. I wish we could turn it around that quick. but,
Or maybe just go from the main to the green space with the 2-inch, you can't do that, or I don't know. you
Yeah.
can.
Would have been nice.
Once you get all
Would have been
permits.
nice to do Pine Street before we paved it. but
Yeah, yeah.
Is what it is.
That's not.
Well, Pine Street is in,
No, that's,
Oh, the main's in the middle of the road.
no, but it's gonna.
but it's gonna stub out to the edge.
Oh,
They
okay.
put that in.
Yeah, that's in there.
Oh, good.
That's in there, don't have to dig that one up.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's why I was wondering if you could do the same thing when they got North Street opened up. Put a stub out, and then you only gotta open it up once.
So just do the tap. I mean, I guess that's up to you. Assuming we get
No, I-
approval tonight, if they're,
I mean,
I'd
just
rather do that than.
curious, that's all.
And
Yeah.
dig it back up again.
yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I think that'd be fine. I'd like to get the state water and wastewater permit first before we.
If we run to that road where the water line is, Jill can let me know, but I think for Peter's water, when he taps on, I think that water line's on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
So that road is gonna have to be shut down completely in order to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, because it's on ours, it's on
It's on the
Adam
west
and
side,
Amber's
yeah.
side with this one, so that works out.
That's where all the blue lines are right now.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know, they just last Thursday, Peter and Jill put my 2-inch tap in the middle of Pine Street, 20 feet or.
Yep.
29 feet.
29 feet off.
Yep.
I would
the
say
road,
once the,
So we wouldn't have to dig it up.
Yep.
Because Kevin says you don't have your permit from the state yet.
Yep.
You can, and the board gave you permission just to do that, so we don't have to dig the road up. Right
I
after we
mean,
pay.
I'm expecting the
You
state
wanna
permit
be
to
Scott
be issued in
Town,
the next
dig up
couple
right
weeks.
after we pay.
Okay, that's up to you.
No, I would like to be.
Do you know which company they're using?
Are they tapping Max, Bill?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
using, Bruce Manning is doing their digging.
Yeah, but Max is doing the tap.
Yeah.
I'll give him the number.
So you're thinking.
Yeah, well, the road was close, it'd be nice to do them both.
We could do that.
And well, he's right here.
When is that gonna be? Any idea?
He hasn't given me a time limit, yeah, when he wants to close the road, so I have no idea yet.
Jason, you're saying we can do that without this?
If we give you permission, you can put
You
the
can-
tap in,
You
yeah.
can, just like the stub was put in for the 8-inch.
Will you give me permission?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here to
Back to 50 DRB, say, no, we don't have anything in there.
Right.
And thank you for the stuff.
Well, that's something we
You know.
just have to.
I mean, I haven't got my DRB permit.
Knock on wood.
We wouldn't have to close the road back down since it is on the west side. Would we?
Right, you'll have a lane closed. You'll
We
have,
would be
that
digging up fresh pavement,
Yeah.
though, basically.
Well,
not on North Street.
not on North Street, but you'd end up digging up one lane and you'd have to have traffic control.
Okay.
And so while the road's closed, and we can divert them around, then time to do it is when the whole road's shut down.
Yeah.
If it's possible, coordinate with you guys, if it works for you.
Yep, and that would be just putting a T or a.
That'd be live tapping the
like
main
that.
and running it out to the curb stop where they can shut it off and that.
Okay.
That way you'd be out to the outside of the travel portion of the road.
Yeah.
And you'd be ready to go when you want a meter.
We'd still have to do the meter pit though.
Yeah.
Afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you want to invest until all the permits are here.
Right, no, but I would think it would make sense just to get that.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, and,
So I'd say coordinate with Eric and with VTEMs,
Yep.
since they're gonna be involved with that
Sure.
other one anyway. So,
and that makes
Yeah.
sense when Mac's here and they're doing a live tap and they're
yeah,
right in the area. That's a
perfect.
great idea.
Yeah, it works out really good for us too, because we could just observe all of them on the same day. It's one shutdown. It's one time of people being mad at us, you know.
And if something goes wrong, it's one time the water shut off, not. two.
Exactly.
Come on.
That's kind of how I'm
Oh,
looking at
hey.
it. They're really close together, you know, and you may be able to benefit from some type of cost savings by working together, but again, that's not my part. My part is just to say, oh boy, these are like diagonally across from each other. They're both taps. They're both on North Street. Should probably mention something.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
assuming we're all good tonight, I think we'll give Mac a call and try to set something up.
okay. Jessica, you got any comments or concerns here? I'm gonna try to keep you.
Nope, it sounds good. Jill's suggestions sound good.
Okay.
So I make the motion, we allow them to make the water connections to feed the projects he's proposed.
Per the engineers.
Yes.
Okay.
Second,
There's a motion and a second to give them permission to do their connections per the engineer and our water operators. Any more discussion?
Quick question for you on the right of way permit, because obviously we have to get that to do the tap. Is that a select board approval or is that through?
For the right of way permit, no, that's through Eric.
Okay.
A curb cut, a new curb cut would require select board.
Yeah, and we don't actually, there's the existing driveways there, so,
If it's an expansion of the use of the existing driveway, that would still require
okay,
an additional.
we'll get that when we get.
Yeah,
start
they're
with
the same
conditional
form.
use. Yeah, But at least it will get the right of way permit.
Driveway versus
Yeah.
road is
Mhm.
width, I believe, right there.
Yeah.
So if you use the same contractor that's doing the other one, he'll already have the work in the right of way permit. We've decided,
For the
so
same-
what we've decided is that the contractors that work here regularly, they still have to file to get permission to work, but it's a one-time deal. And so, like if I dig for you, then I can go dig for Joel, and then I can go dig for Ian. I don't have to get a permit every time.
It's perfect.
That's for the, for the contract. So if you get somebody who doesn't work here regularly, you're gonna get hit with the full charge of the permit,
Sometimes-
I would assume.
The benefit of the permit application is because each location might have different characteristics that.
But they still have to meet with Eric
And,
regardless,
and get, there
You
might
pay
be
the
certain
$100
conditions,
For each.
like
not every time.
trimming or culverts or
The
something
landowner
like
would
that.
have to pay for it when they don't pick her. If they're the ones applying for the work in the right of way permit. Even though the contractor like you is gonna be doing the work.
So you're gonna make two people pay for it?
No, that's what I'm asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Up there, it's $100, they split it, because of one contractor digging across the whole road.
Well, he's not gonna dig across the whole road, it'll be two different spots.
Yeah,
Cause they're not.
Oh, they're not gonna be,
No.
But the road will be closed, is Jill's.
Yeah, this will be the time to do
well, I
it.
was thinking they're gonna be a foot apart, one going
No,
east, one
no,
going
they're
west.
they're probably gonna be 100 feet apart.
So we may or may not be able to piggyback on that right away permit.
Right.
We're gonna talk to Eric.
I'm talking to her.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? We got a motion and a second?
Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Alright.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Justin, Jessica. Abstain? Okay. Go ahead.
Great.
Great.
Thank you. Yes, we're ready to have the right of way.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It took us a while to get it figured
Yeah,
out,
right?
but we've been dealing with 3 projects like this, and every one is unique in its own way, so it's been a learning curve for us, but I think we've come up with a set of rules that are gonna make life easier in the future. Thanks to you and
Right.
the others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
guys.
take care. Jason, don't steal my hat, please.
We're gonna get rid of that.
Water Commissioner, continued consideration of adopting an updated water rate structure and other amendments to the Bristol Water Use Ordinance Appendix B, schedule of rates and charges.
Okay, bye, Eric. Thank you very much.
Eric, I have a question. I was gonna bring in your concerns.
What?
Munson went back last week and closed all those things. They were all down they were all up about 2.5 inches for the pavement.
Yeah.
Now they're all covered today.
Yeah, cause we shaping the road up.
Okay, so they gotta raise them again or
So
cut around?
we'll have to either raise them up again, we will.
We're not gonna have any belly buttons, right? down
Or
that street?
or risers.
We had a meeting on Thursday and we decided that we're gonna put a fake cap in front of whatever number Pine Street is and leave it about 1.5 inches low. So that every time a car goes by, it goes boom, boom.
I
Oh,
picked
no,
up all the
so-
risers. I picked up all the risers at Prescott's today, by the way, to make sure that
Yeah.
Eric's got them for tomorrow and for Wednesday.
Well, I just thought it was.
So we
ironic.
have-
We had
we
the same
have-
gravel, now we reshaped them all
We have
and raised
the
the road.
risers for the ones that won't. Munson said they loosened them all and pulled them.
So we should be able to work them up.
Should be able to bar them up.
Okay,
If they can't bar them up,
Right, we have 2 of them in front of the bakery that they didn't move because they were already at grade level. So them 2 will probably have to put risers in.
oh,
I would try to bar them first.
I'm
but if
gonna
they
try
don't-
to bar them first
Yeah.
anyway. just
All
to
right,
see
I
if we
just-
can get them moved,
I
but-
was gonna ask that on the Selectmen too, but you're leaving, so,
Right,
Okay.
so
thank you.
they will definitely be lower than the pavement. You may have a 1/4 inch.
Oh, they will be like North Street, belly.
They're now gonna be 1 inch low.
Inch
No,
low.
that I will,
Dum, dum, dum,
I'm not gonna guarantee, cause nothing's ever guaranteed,
Okay,
but as close as possible.
Will be 1 inch high, so you hit them with a plow every time.
Right, no, that makes it
Okay.
worse.
Only once.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Alright,
Okay.
have a good night.
ready. Okay, Chris and I know Sharon have been working on this. You guys want
All right, come on up.
Come on up.
I have some questions.
Hopefully it has answers.
Good. Let me ask my questions first, because then you can go in and answer those and then move forward. I was looking through the document, and in residential, there's a column E. What does the column E mean? And it looks like it's just some slight changes in a few of the residences.
Don't move so much. Go back up just a little bit for me.
It's mainly in like 542.
Stop right there. You just look see what I got here. 12, I believe that's the number of EUs at each residence.
Right, for D, but then E, there's some, if you go down to like 542.
I might just have some notes.
Well, it wasn't notes, it was numbers, and those numbers didn't correspond with what was in the D column. So,
Back up a little
so
bit.
the reason, there you go, so there was that one.
Oh, because when I was first looking at this, there was a discussion whether or not it was a residential mix, a resident. So if there's a resident and a business mix, we've probably got, yeah, like Wells Mountain is the same.
Yes.
And I highlighted them just because they were in my head. I had
Okay.
to double check what they were.
Okay, so those these are pulled out from residential, but they're in the other one.
Right, so they become a.
Because these are now 0.
Got it, and that's, let me just see.
Are they 0 because they're,
Let's see.
they're not a resident?
Right, it's a mixed use, so if it's a mixed use, we're looking at it as a commercial entity with the, remember my math here?
Yeah, it looks like it, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, because you're pulling numbers from column D.
Yes.
Even though these numbers are in here, and I wanted to make sure, but it looks like if I do a search for those, and I look in non-residential, those are covered in that. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
I was
sure.
like, because at first I had them as
Right.
two very separate, and
Yes.
and it was like almost double whacking some of the
Okay.
owners.
Can we go back to that? Probably have a couple of questions without mentioning any names. I saw one it's a business on South Street with an apartment above it. And that has one down, and then there's a business on Main Street which is a financial office. And that has one, but only that doesn't have an apartment above it. Should the business on South Street have a 2? One for the business and one
The
for the
South Street
apartment?
one doesn't have an apartment.
George Vince
George Vince
has an apartment above.
right, but we switched that to a business, I believe.
You have it as a business, but you'll have a 1 on it. And see, Oxgen LLC, Main Street 20.
Yeah, 9 South Street's just an apartment.
While I'm looking at number 5, what is it, 560? It's got a 1 on it, right there.
Yeah,
And then
that's their financial office.
Right, and then go up a little bit higher, find South Street. I don't want to mention any names, but I guess
George Vince,
right there. And that one has the office downstairs and a
All right, so it's a 1 as well. So
141.
it's just
No, and an apartment above.
Henderson?
No, up above George Vince.
7 South Street
Up high.
doesn't have a business in it.
8 South Street.
Where's each?
Right, she's on it. Next one up.
That's 5.
Next one up.
That's 5.
Right there.
That's 5. Vince is, yes, it's no longer a residential, it's a commercial. That's what the.
Right, but it has the office downstairs and an apartment above.
Right, it's a mixed use. It's
So
not
why does it don't have a 2? I'm just asking why doesn't it have a 2 versus a 1?
because we're already,
That's what I'm just asking.
in my mind, we're already charging double on the commercial rate versus the residential rate. So that was my rationale behind it.
It's twice as much for.
I get that, but I'm just putting my umpire's hat on and being fair and balanced here.
I mean, fair and balanced, if we want to go that way, we reduce the commercial rate to the exact same
But
rate as the residential rate.
Bristol
but-
Financial, I'll have to say the name,
Yeah,
Bristol
that's
Financial
financial.
doesn't have a apartment above them and they're still a 1.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
I don't believe so. Maybe they do.
But they have 2 businesses in it though, right, because isn't there an accounting above it and
I guess so, yeah.
So.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah, that's, I mean, we looked at it, the business ones are all handled by their usage. So George's would have been handled by his total usage with or without the residential unit in it. So we lumped those, I pulled those out, these actual. The average household calculation is about 35,000 gallon-ish, give or take, and commercial is 76,000 gallons per unit. So it's already twice the number of units as well for a commercial entity. I was trying to
I
keep it
see what you're
fair.
saying, but I mean, I see 9 Main Street there, 3 apartments, it's got a 3. I see 11 Main Street, 2 apartments, it's got a 2.
That's what they would have been. That's what I pulled out. So those numbers used to be in the left-hand, in the D column.
Mhm.
So that's what those 80 were removed from resident, or 30, what was the number at the bottom? I think. It was either 30. We removed 30 residential.
Right, I get where you're
units out of
saying.
the total mix.
But if it's got 2 apartments, it's got a 2, if it's got 3, it's got a 3, and I agree with that. But then I see an office and apartment above it, it's still got a 1. Why doesn't it have a 2? It's 2 uses. I realize an office space doesn't use much.
Because this was just residential count. This had nothing to do with number of, like the storefront. You look at 9 Main Street, which is the,
See, the one she got highlighted now is an office space down below with an
Yeah.
apartment above it, it's got a 1. But if it's 3 apartments, it's got a 3, if it's got 2 apartments.
that's
it's
what
got
it
a 2.
would have been so originally the way I had this counted was George Vince's, we'll use George as an example. He would have been hit as a business user for that. And then how do you extrapolate out, since it's 1 meter, the water usage for the business versus they all have 1 meter.
Okay,
And that was
the
the big-
apartments have, those ones with 2 apartments or 3 each have 3 meters or 1 meter?
1 meter.
They all have 1. So what would happen here is the logical way to do this is you would subtract out what their residential usage, what their commercial usage would have been. So like George Vince, we'd say he uses 76,000 gallons a year. If we pull it up on the spreadsheet, there's another one out there that shows he doesn't use 76,000 gallons a year.
Right.
Okay, now you're making sense with that.
Yeah.
So it was more with the usage. Because 2 apartments will use more than an office in an apartment, I get that.
Yeah.
Because there's no shower, no, just a place to go to the bathroom in an
Right.
office. Maybe a sink to wash the dishes and a little commode.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're already, so those were, the only one on this table that I had, the green one right there was the creamy stand. I don't know how to deal with that one, because they're only open twice a year. Or 1 billing cycle a year. They're an oddity, I just,
That's okay. For the residential, that column D, are those the new calculations of the BUs?
no, so those were removed as billing units 100%, those were all converted to 100% commercial calculation.
No, just not E, D.
Oh, D is EUs, yes, so whatever's in D was a calculated EU, I went through.
Okay, so those are our new numbers, not based on what we currently do. Okay,
This was going through NEMRIC painfully and looking at.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, see the
You went
9,
through the details, the spreadsheet that you sent me
Yeah,
and calculated all those. Okay,
9, 3, 7.
okay, so we have that. Yeah, those are just my questions. I just want to make sure that the numbers that we were dealing with were your new calculations. So then we got the
Absolutely.
residential, we got the non-residential.
now. Okay, let's go to the next one up, where it says 9 there, there's 9 apartments. But then you have the bar and the hair salon, so you don't account for those? Or- That's the old Noni's bar.
yeah, no. I may have missed that one, looking at more, in all honesty, it's 9 apartment. We can roll it back.
Should be 10 or 1.
No, if anything, it would go, that would become a 0 and we
It'd
would
be over the other side, is that,
it would be over in the,
and be colored,
matter of fact, in May,
Which one are you looking at,
the
Joe?
one she's on right now,
557.
557.
Okay,
And then if we go to the
That's a
non-residential list, Valerie, for a sec,
'Cause-
we may be hitting him twice, unfortunately.
And those 3 underneath that.
Scroll down a
should
little
have
bit
been
more. Me.
in the business section.
it's 4.75.
Yeah, so then unfortunately, that is a good catch. There are some errors in the data, I'm not gonna lie. I did my
No,
best.
you got a lot of them there, I understand that, it popped up there. And then, can you go back to the other slide you were there, sorry, Valerie? That one, see the three underneath it? Besides Hendy, there's two more.
Yeah,
They all got apartments. Should they slide over to the other?
no, because those are just apartments. There's nothing else in those buildings. ASMG Properties LLC, that's the old, those are Adam LaBelle's properties,
Right,
and those are all just apartments now, I believe.
okay.
So wait, let's go back to if there was a mistake, I want to make sure we get that. You were saying the Hendy Properties is 9, which is what we have in residential, and then in non-residential, we have 4.75.
It should just be the 4.75. He said, this calculation for the 4.75
Yeah.
is their total usage for that entire building.
Ah,
So those 9 need to be removed out of the residential column and moved over one.
okay,
So,
right, because we've got, look at the amount that's for annual usage, okay.
yeah, and you can change that now if you want. I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything.
So, is it a single meter then?
Yep.
And then your ERU, the 4.75,
I should be at 9 there, shouldn't it, Valerie?
No, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, it could. I mean, if you just change that column right onto a 9. Yeah, there we go. That'd be perfect.
so the 4.75 for this particular example, where does the 4.75 come from?
If you go back to the non-res calculation,
Yeah,
you'll see their total annual usage, which is 361,000 gallons. You
Yeah.
divide that by 76,750.
oh, right, so that the state's calculation, got it.
And
Okay.
that creates that number.
Okay,
And then I rounded it up to the nearest quarter point.
but that's not the same when you're calculating residential though, is it?
Residential, so a residential user is
Right.
a dwelling unit.
Yes, that's right,
So we tried to separate the two.
yeah, okay.
And I used the state's model on that. I don't know if it's right.
Well, but it's what we're going, so we're just committing to doing a certain one.
Ones that are all colored. I don't care about the money here so much right now. Our last 4 bills.
So yeah, we do need to double check this. Because right now we're 852, so we've changed, which then changes all the calculations on the summary page by a little bit. Because our residential has changed.
Valerie, can you go back to what we had, what the colored in slide up? I want to see a few more apartments.
So the one that's removed from here, it's a single standalone line item, is Woodland.
Whoop, back up a little, or down, I'm sorry. Right,
So here's what
hold
I
on
would
right there.
want.
Yeah.
Is,
Okay, no, I'm looking for Pleasant Street, Cusino.
yeah,
Just gonna do one. Just look at one I know, it's just 4-unit apartment.
it's gonna be higher up. West Pleasant's further up on the list, I believe.
Pleasant Street.
Right there, stop.
Cusino.
There's Greg Kuzno's 3-unit, there's Rod Kuzno's 4-unit.
Yeah, okay. But why aren't those colored over?
Because there's no business in them.
Yeah.
So
The colored were
Yeah.
combination of, there's gotta be one business in it, and then it could be 4 apartments.
yeah,
Okay.
and because it's a single meter to extrapolate out the usage from the residential versus the business, there's no good way to, since we do if we did install 2 separate meters or a meter to
Business and a meter for,
residential.
like the
Yeah,
laundromat is in the business side, it's got the business.
Yeah, and it's one entity.
This is not just the non-colored column, I'll call it, for better terms, not just residential use. It's not just residential meter.
Yes, these are
The
purely.
non-colored are
Yes,
just
white,
residential.
white is residential only, pink is mixed use.
Pink is mixed use. I would dare to say that if it's, when I say residence, I'm thinking a home like myself or Ian's place,
Nope,
not an apartment house.
not an apartment, you treat an apartment house, like I said last week.
Like all of them?
Yeah,
Like a
Okay.
home,
Like a home.
yeah.
Okay.
because if you live in that apartment, it is
But
your
they
home.
get charged a 4 instead of a 1.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so every one of those units, every living unit in that, or apartment, for lack of better terms, apartment unit in it is a building unit.
Okay.
So like Woodland is a 45, or would be when it comes around to normalizing their rates, but they have 45 apartments down there.
Right. Okay.
But, so given that, something like Hendy adds a little bit of confusion because there are 12 apartments? Nine
Nine
apartments in there.
Plus the
So
bar.
how, is there a way to then split that out? How do you, I know that you're catching it in terms of the non-residential side, but as Joel has sort of alluded to, and also you talked about, is the equity of that. They're getting a higher rate, even though technically it's residential for a part of that.
I mean, the hard part is trying to come up with an exception for the one-offs
Right.
is, I don't feel comfortable doing that for policy, but the way to fix this is for you all to install separate water meters in the
Right.
problematic locations. That's the.
But they
honest
don't
way.
have separate piping, so.
I know, I'm just saying, that's really would be to have
Right,
separate
because
meters. with
it's
your own-
1 meter for that entire building, which includes the salon, the bar, and 9 apartments. Okay.
So we
Right.
do we charge them 2 businesses and 9 apartments? Is that how we do the
No,
base?
no, it's just total usage for that, because we treat the entire building like a business.
Okay, so they're not paying
Twice.
They're not paying 9 times.
No. The error I had, they were, but we fixed
Okay.
it.
That was where I was
Yeah, we
getting,
should-
I
we
was
should
getting a little concerned, was
yeah.
if they were paying 9 times the double rate, that would be an issue, but if they're just paying the rate for 1 meter as a business.
Yep.
And then their usage, that's,
And in this case too, if they have 9 apartments, you said,
Mhm.
and the rate is doubled, if you look at the 4.75 times the doubled rate, you're kind of capturing the 9 units in a
Yeah.
way.
I mean, it sort of washes out,
Yeah.
so.
Sorry to keep.
No, this is good. Oh, I'm glad
So
about it.
for Woodland,
Mhm.
that's Tom Sawyer Development, looking in residential. And
They were extracted out on purpose. They're 0 all across the board because
because
you
of
have,
their.
but if you go back to the summary page, their numbers are called out very specifically right before your total in pink on the right, that 11,
Ah, yes, okay,
So-
so they have a special deal because it was.
part of the water line
negotiated-
project.
Yeah, okay,
So
so when that finishes,
that goes back down to where you see Woodland before discount, that 45 is what Woodland's numbers will become.
got it, okay,
Because I saw this question coming.
yeah, right, because it's 42, it's 45.
Mhm.
But then essentially they'll go back into column D when that contract
Absolutely.
finishes, okay. And then it looks like there's future units, lot 2 and 3.
Yeah, but again, I don't know.
Future, yeah, okay.
so
Got it.
we are gonna get more from them when the rates go up though.
Correct.
I don't know what the contract is, and I have no idea what the agreement,
Maybe we gave them a flat rate for,
We gave them a flat rate for 5 years,
10
or
years.
10 years.
And it's not a flat rate, it's a yearly average amount. And depending on how big their bill is, will determine what their break is that I have to back out.
You know when that expires? We have like 7 years left,
Yeah,
5
it was
years.
2 years ago, we did the water line.
No,
More
three
than
more
that.
than that.
more than that, when this fire station built, that's when we did the water line.
Mhm.
That was been
Well,
7 years,
I was
6 years.
here at the time, so it's
6 or
about
7.
5 years.
That's
6
why
years this
Yeah.
July, we moved in.
It's about halfway through.
We're probably halfway through it.
And then
Yeah,
after
6
the
years
5
ago.
years, I guess
It goes
depending,
back to the regular rate,
okay,
whatever that is.
which will be hopefully this system.
Yeah.
Okay.
And part of it too is, one of the things with this is, even with an increase in her rates, if you look at her quarterly change of her total bill, is $315.
Yeah.
For all over 40
Yeah.
units. So her impact on her tenants is minimal this way.
Yeah.
$30.
Yeah, I mean, so and it falls right in line with this average homeowner who's gonna see a $3 to $7 increase. It's
Wait,
something-
So why is that then? Why is that such a small, even if it's,
Because if you think of the number of units, it's really, number of units is number of units. That's sort of the beauty of this
I mean, if the
model.
average resident's going up $8, and that's going up.
Or, so, I mean, if we do the,
right,
around $8, $7 or $8 too for them, so it's not a difference.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference is, they're gonna see an annual difference of 1263, so a quarter difference of 315.
Right.
I mean,
Divide that by 40.
yeah, it's,
Okay.
it's less
so
than
it was,
$8.
it shakes out, I mean, like, that very top line, that family of two, that's my house. That's my water bill for the last year, that's what the projections are. I'm gonna see an increase of 1356 next year.
Well, if we agree.
Yes,
with
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And then again, my neighbor next, another neighbor, they will see a decrease. Just because that's what their current usage is higher, but by going with this flat model, it'll limit it and doing I mean, they have a lower usage. But you do a flat model and then by, the $5.50 per 1,000 gallon or half a cent.
Yeah.
They end up saving some because they don't use as much water. So the people that will actually see a savings are the single family homes with like one person or two people. Like if Jen and I wanted to be a little more conscious, we probably could cut that number and become a savings. The number of homes we have where there's one person living in it, the people that winter in Florida,
Right.
those folks will actually see a reduction in their overall bill. Because they're not gonna have the usage piece of it during the low times. They'll have a $45.
My bill will drop a little bit, about $5.50 a month or a quarter.
Talk to girls, tell them take a longer shower.
No.
So the bigger hit right now is, if you look at it, I mean, the commercial side is seeing an increase.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them a significant increase, but at the same time,
They're paying for what they're using.
yeah, it really shakes out.
Which is the fair way of doing it.
And what shakes out with it too is everything is going up. I mean, I don't want to be cold. I don't want to sound heartless about it, but everything has gone up and we were gonna have to raise our water rates regardless this year. And I really thought this was a way to restructure our water rates where everyone's playing on the same, it feels like everyone's playing at least at the same level, starting point. And
So, and with this, I think we had this conversation, when the last time we proposed it was, if all the bonding goes through, we're gonna have a budget next year or 3 years from now, well, $550,000, $200,000 more to make those bond payments.
yeah,
We just raise the base rate.
you can do either. I
Or
personally.
maybe have a little bit of both.
You can do a little bit of both. I personally would play with your base rate before you play, because then everyone is starting at the same level, and then your usage dictates the variance in your bill. I played around with it, and I think you have to get to 500,000. I think you have to bump residential to 360 and 720 for commercial, or for non-res, I think is, if you throw those numbers in there. Doing that from memory.
Okay, no, I'm just. But as the budget grows.
No, yeah, unfortunately, there's fixed numbers for that one. You just gotta type the 360. Yeah,
And what,
720, I think it was 320 and 760, but yeah, I mean, that's really to get your five and a quarter.
Almost 600, yeah.
Yep.
And then you see the increase on the users. I mean, my house now goes up $50 a quarter.
Yep.
To get to that number. So that's how quickly these incremental changes do occur.
Okay.
That's double the rate.
Yeah, it doubles the rate.
So what's our current rate per 1,000 gallons now that we charge? Do we have a number for that?
Do you know through the Magic Dakota room what that shakes out to be? Yeah.
Is it 550 or is that 550 a new number?
That's a new number.
Okay.
And
But it's around about there, right?
And I came up with that, again, I tried to use sort of the average of what we're paying. And to create a table where the average user number stayed. And I've worked with those two, both your base rate and your gallon numbers.
Right.
To try to keep these things in line. Without seeing a huge increase to the end user.
But it's also looking at other towns too, because
Oh, yeah.
other towns have similar prices.
Not nearly as cheap, but yes.
But they're looking, the research I did, the rates we're in the 550, 560.
Per gallon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but then it was that base unit price that was different.
yes, like
Okay.
Valerie's is very different in Waitsfield.
Where did we start?
It's got that Mad River.
We talked.
Well, there was the
the
big bang and.
No. Where did we start with for a number? Did we start at 180 or did we bump that up?
No, 180 is what we started with, because I needed to get your budget number to 380 to so that beige line.
Yep.
Total, that's to make the budget that was
Presented.
that was approved.
And part of the discussion last time was,
To bump that.
right, was changing the residential annual rate and the non-residential to sort of put a little bit more in our capital fund as we start to do these projects over the next 6 years.
So if you were to bump those two numbers just to 200 even, so that's $50 a quarter. So I'll have to just do those numbers real quick.
200 here?
Yes, please.
And 400, the other.
Yep, and 400 there. Now bunch it to 404.
Right.
And that gives us
About 25.
25,000 to put into the capital.
So, and that's not a horrible increase. Again, you look at what the user sees, it's not outlandish. Much more than that. I don't want to answer the phone.
Yeah, I worked out if you did the $55 rate for residential and did 100 times 4, you get an annual increase of 38,780, which is like a pretty good chunk of change. I mean, we're competing with our however many $1 million cost is, but we need to be able to increase the capital water line money to be able to pay for that.
How much did you say to bump that to again?
I did the 400 for the non-residential, and I did 220 for resident, which was like keeping it the same amount going up for both that we done with the 180 and the 200. And that was like, yes, 38,000. But I mean, you could do either of those. And I was sort of playing around just to see how much that quarter difference was, or the annual difference to people's bills.
Well, I have a question is, so we have a budget of about 380 and we're gonna.
What is that 393 there? What is that? Okay,
No, sorry.
And, so if we set the water rates to 400, we need 400,000 for the budget, going on our old magical system. that nobody can really figure out. What would a 4-unit apartment, I see they're gonna look out $140.
I don't have a way to, I don't have an easy way to calculate that, to be honest with you, Joel. I don't know how to do that.
Okay. You see where I was going with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Without, if we just said, no, we're going back the old way and want need to raise 400,000, they may pay more.
No, they would pay a lot less of this because they're paying the same as you or I do.
Yeah, because they're just one unit.
Yeah, so the residents are gonna pay more than
So what this really captures is the multifamily, the multi-unit, the duplexes, the triplexes.
They're paying for the unit.
They're paying for every living unit. Somebody who has an ADU on their house, that's 2 dwelling units. That's two.
That's $400.
Yeah.
Instead of 2, which it is, if we were doing this right now, it would be 2. Yeah.
Everyone would be paying 2 just for the sake of ease.
So what's the thought of leaving it at 200 and 400 and having $25,000 more, knowing that we're gonna chew that up in the next 6 years? It's gonna be 25,000 more a year going into the capital.
I mean, for me, my logic here is if you bump it right now, it's not a terrible rise. And if you do it again in another year at the same basic $5 more increment next year per quarter, that's still not untenable. And you're still slowly building into your fund. If you try to do 10 right now,
And
I
then
think
20 next year, it might be, then wait a minute. I hear what you're saying.
Then the phone will ring.
Oh, I'm changing jobs.
But how do you, we know, given the projects that we have, the 3 projects that are in the $10 million range, we know that we need to raise the money to do that. We're hoping, fingers crossed, we get 50% forgiveness. But really, it's a combination of things. It's either the water rate per gallon, the 550 increases, or the residential rate annual and the non-residential increases. And I guess we have to decide.
Well, I think the only fair way.
When we do that.
The the fair way to do it is to split it out, so every unit's paying, like he says.
Correct.
And I say we do it for the next billing cycle, so we can get it out.
We won't be able to get this for September.
No, the next,
Oh, for the December one, yes.
And plus we want to do outreach.
yeah, we wanna let people know.
Yeah, I put together a
Hang on,
time frame.
Merry Christmas.
I mean,
But
just
it's-
with
yeah.
the 200 and 400 gives us a cushion for, in the capital, number one, and just design work, we're gonna spend that.
No, I know.
Just in the design, not even begin to think about putting any pipe in the ground, just in the design work, we'll
So,
spend that
Yeah, I
easily.
mean, to come up with those realistic numbers of what you need for those rates.
Right.
Is you need a schedule of what your debt's gonna be based on your construction. Once you have that, then you can sit down annually and figure out what the numbers you need to put in there to make those numbers.
Right.
And I don't have that, I didn't.
Right. But
And
this
because
is our.
there's so many assumptions they have to go into.
Yeah, so that was a tough one for me.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, Jessica, you've been sitting, I hopefully listened to all this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't like the idea of raising the rates too quickly, just because that's a shock for people who weren't budgeting for that. So raising it more slowly over time, I think makes a lot more sense to me.
Okay.
Are you
Another-
comfortable with the 2 and the 400 to start?
I'll just,
Yes, I think those changes look reasonable, like, you know, average families could afford that quarter increase.
okay.
Another way to think about this too, in the long haul, after we have a clearer handle on the debt and we know what we need to raise to cover the debt, we might actually see a decrease in the operating expenses because those investments are fixing a lot of leaks.
That's the hope.
Right, so it's decreasing the amount of water that needs to be treated, it's decreasing the electricity, the repairs, all that good stuff that we'll ultimately see a decrease in the operating budget.
and again, the loans to pay for that are what, 20 and 30-year bonds. I mean, I know I hate to talk that way, but it's not like we're getting, you also have to come up with 10 million in 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we have to write that, but.
Gotta come up with that payment per
Right.
year, yeah.
Right, so it's figuring out what those payment levels would be.
After they telling us we're gonna get 50% and give us 5.
Right.
Well,
Anyway, so any more discussion on this, you guys? And Jessica, what do you guys feel? 200 and 400?
I would make the motion that we set the base rate for residential at 200 and non-residential at 400 with the water at how much per gallon?
$5.50 per 1,000 gallon.
$5.50 per 1,000. Is that period?
Yes.
Do you want that
To
rate,
take effect in December.
and that rate is a yearly rate? I don't know if you want to do a quarterly in terms of the 50 or $100 a quarter, just because that's when water lines go out, water bills go out.
Well, I think that we set it's for our budget, it's for our annual budget.
The 200
so
is the
annual
annual.
rate.
I think
Okay,
it'd be
is that
simple.
how we calculate? That's what we're
Yeah.
looking at that? Okay.
I think it'd be
So
simple.
that's the way that's the way I'm proposing we change it
Okay,
to that.
So you're proposing figure your amendment or your thing
You
is
scrap the old system. and-
scrap and go with the new water rates as presented by the treasurer and assistant treasurer. Is that what you're, instead of trying to say the 550 and all that?
No,
this is
that's,
what-
that is,
No,
the-
I want you all to call a number out.
yeah,
Okay,
and I did. 200, 400, and 550 per 1,000.
1,000 gallons of water used. Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Don't sound so enthusiastic.
No, I'm just,
Yeah, I know.
Okay, wait a minute, any discussion? I guess you got something.
no, it's just I totally agree with the numbers. It's how we frame it, because part of it is the discussion to water district users. And so we know that we have to change over time within the next 6 years, that base unit and probably the rate per 1,000 gallons, even though it's difficult to talk about. We're gonna need that in our budget to pay for our debt, right? So I just wanna,
Some of it though, if we do the whole west side and we have some major leaks,
right,
we should, our expenses should drop considerably. So we wouldn't necessarily have to raise as much.
Yeah.
I'm promising you 50% forgiveness.
That's the thing, I worry about that too.
Yeah,
That-
no,
I mean,
no,
the
no, I
numbers
don't,
that-
not the forgiveness,
No,
but the
no,
water
no.
savings, I
Yes.
worry about, I do.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I'm not think we're gonna see a huge savings in the cost of electricity, but I think we're gonna see a savings in the usage, because the cost,
Yeah.
pump time, because the cost of electricity will go up. But it may stay the same as, because, oh, you're using a lot less electricity, but the rate went up on electricity, GMP's rates.
Right.
You just gotta run an extension cord up to that
Right.
solar
So-
farm.
So the big piece with this.
Okay, Jessica, do you have any comment? We got a motion in a second?
I was just gonna follow up with Ian's concern with the outreach aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's actually the next piece on my,
Sorry, Jessica. Sorry.
what do you want to call it? Project that I put together.
Yeah.
That's putting together that outreach letter. That'll be, and it's nothing I want to send out alone. It's
Right.
something I want to bring to you all and have you review it.
Will that?
Can that go out with the
September
September bills?
It would be good if it would.
Yeah.
We can hit it.
Because we're gonna start the read next week, you have another meeting on the 23rd.
And that was my hope, was to have
We
it
could
approved for the
certainly have
23rd.
it ready to put into those bills, because it usually takes me a couple days to go through the bills and get the ones that didn't read.
Okay.
so at the moment, so it's a combination of things, it's the new system, which is the billing unit, which we currently don't use, we use the ERU. So there's that change with the billing unit, and then there's the cost associated with the billing unit, that goes, well, I guess, what is it? Compared to the 400 or the 200, what is that now? Do we have with the old system, do we have a set number for that ERU?
No, we have a minimum usage.
Minimum use charge.
Okay, so again, there's that discussion, like explaining, which people don't understand anyway. Nope. To then go with a new system that we've created that's in line with the state and how they measure things. The cost associated with that, and then the confirmation of a new water rate per 1,000 gallons.
And also, I think it's important on the outreach of why we're doing this.
Right, oh, yes.
It's not just because we want to make more money, it's because they've already seen Pine Street.
Yes.
We've already seen the bills. And conveying that in a way that is respectful and softening is,
Right.
this could be, for some people, this is gonna be a big blow. Like I said, even what you see there, I mean, mine going up $8, I can stomach that one. Some folks are gonna be outright angry at that number.
Right.
I'm at family of four.
That's.
It's about break even.
$3 a month.
I know
No,
it
it's $3 a month.
It's about 10 cents a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already, so
Yep.
I know what it is, but when somebody sees their water bill go from $90 to $100.
$3 is $3 is where, I totally agree.
So it's getting the message out in a very clear, sensitive way.
Yeah.
So this is a fair way to do the water system so that the base rate pays for your expenses and the water rate pays for the water.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's really what the intent is that the base rate covers your infrastructure and the usage rate covers what comes through your tap.
And we might even have a chance of calculating, because now we can't calculate because you don't know if they're using over 100 gallons a day.
Yeah.
The estimated rough usage, that's what ERU stands for. now.
Yeah.
That's what it was, estimated rough usage. Jessica, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with the approach with the letter. I think talking about what the different things are covering is good. And then also showing some of these estimates, like how much is your bill going to change, would be really good.
And does anyone on the board want to be my proof as I write this document? Would any of you be willing to work with me on that?
I can do that.
Can I help anybody you on that?
Yeah.
You don't want me doing
it?
Yeah, part of that, so that's separate. I would like to double check Chris's calculations for the residential, since we just happened to find one or two tonight, since Joel seems familiar, just to double check those numbers, because it does affect
No, it's that eyes, I don't think it's.
our final count and also the non-residential, just to be sure, because I'm sure we're gonna have people, once we lock these in, I'm sure we'll have questions from residents or property owners questioning how this was done. And we want to try to be able to help them as best we can.
Absolutely.
There's the other side of it too, which I mentioned the last time we spoke, which is sort of, can we involve the energy committee in this in terms of saving water? I asked Chris for the full NEMRIC export of everyone's water usage. And so I can compare it, I can see how much I use, I can see how much someone else's uses. And also too, some of the people just I know, I was quite surprised, like I maybe use 30,000 gallons a year, and that's a family of 4. And some people are at 60,000 gallons, and I know that they're a family of 4. So it's like, why is that? Is it an older house? Is it just water usage? Is
They
it
wash their car, they water their garden.
Right,
do they water
or leaky pipes or something like that. So it's like part of that, can we involve the energy committee just to be able to offer people ways to save water, even though it sort of works against what we're trying to do. It helps them.
Well, it does, it doesn't work against what we're trying to do, because
terms of like,
if they cut usage, then our cost is gonna go down.
Yes.
So we're not,
You're right.
I mean, it's not like if all of a sudden they say, well, I'm shutting the tap off.
Yeah.
We still have our infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
You still have guaranteed $50
Yeah.
a month, a quarter.
And then, you know, we have the savings from the
Yeah.
water, so it works either way.
Right.
I guess a question I have was back to those, the 2 apartments we talked about, South Street and down Main Street was. And then you could take a 4-unit apartment on Pleasant Street,
Yeah.
just an apartment. Would that unit next door say, you know what, I'm paying $400 a month unit price, or a quarter, or a year, excuse me, versus $200. I'm gonna turn my office space into an apartment.
Which isn't all bad right now, the housing.
I agree, but, I can get more for an apartment than I can to an office space. And pay-
I wouldn't think so, but maybe.
Versus, I don't know,
I mean,
I'm just bringing that up.
But it might raise those questions.
But
Might
that's
raise
already
those
happening.
questions.
Yeah.
So just, look at the insurance building on West Street.
Right, Page and
Yep.
Campbell's.
Page and Campbell
Yeah.
used to be,
Page and Campbell,
Resident-
2 apartments upstairs.
now it's all apartments.
Yeah.
So those transitions, I think, are gonna shake themselves out naturally. I don't think this kind of savings isn't nearly.
You're gonna push them to say, I'm taking these little small
No,
offices
because again, if you
that I'm
take,
getting.
if you
1,000 a
scroll
month
down
and
just a
then
tiny bit,
apartment
Valerie, for
for
the
15.
example, can you
I'm
scroll
just
this down
asking a
just a
question.
tiny bit, just like see a couple more of the examples? I think I have one that might be a decent comp.
Right, and if it's a living thing, so if those changes happen, then obviously this gets updated and our total number of residences changes or businesses changes, so that's fine.
And the other piece with it too is that we had the discussion is making sure that somehow tying into zoning and or the listers, when there's a change of use,
Right.
it's really imperative, because that truly changes this calculation for a homeowner. Whether it's adding an accessory dwelling, whether it's converting a single family home into 2 or 3 apartments, any of that kind of stuff. Right now, we don't track that in any manner.
Right,
Yeah, if you add an accessory dwelling, it's gonna go from 2 to 4,
right.
but your water usage may not go up.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the ADU here, their water usage is almost on par with it's actually more than a 4-unit apartment building that I compared. So, it's all over the place, but, so,
Okay.
yeah, if you could help me, I will work on a draft of that
Yeah.
this week. And
I was wondering if the high school is correct. I mean, I see it's half as much as Woodland Apartments. I realize 42, but there's over 1 million gallons just in that pool. And they usually drain it in the spring and do maintenance on it. So
they ran 660.
Maybe they didn't drain it.
6,000 gallons of water through there. I mean, I can check I can do a secondary count on theirs, what theirs was like. I took the last, as you can see, I took 530.
Those are yearly
2023
gallons. 668 gallons, 668,000.
Yep, three quarters of a million gallons is what Mount A put through their meter last year.
When it was working.
Yeah. That was the other part.
So I don't think that's a true,
Right.
because they had that major leak and.
But that was outside. That was before the meter.
Yeah, well, their meter wasn't working either, so
We
we were doing a estimated
Estimate,
read.
So again, these are fluid, because and these also need to be adapted.
So when did they do,
No pun
until
intended.
when they do
That leak made their meter go backwards. It was like a break right in the front of the building, like 5 feet off of the meter. And we also replaced the meter with a new one. So I think you might see those numbers increase a bit because they're being measured more accurately now without anything going backwards.
And again, there's 60 commercial units, and what the thoughts were was at the
Yeah, I don't
beginning of
see-
each billing cycle, so again, it'd be.
Where's Bristol Elementary there? I don't see that one. Bristol Elementary.
It's in here.
It's not on the,
No, it's not in that list, but it's on,
Wondering what their
it's on the
usage is?
non-residential.
Yeah, I just was wondering what theirs is. Are they just a residential use?
no,
They're
They're not-
416,000.
Okay. That seems more realistic than the 668. That's why.
again, they have a lot of bodies in a school, they don't use that much water. If you stop and think about it, but that's a whole different
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion. A second to set those rates as presented and Baker outlined them. Any more discussion? One more time, Jessica, you got anything more to add?
Nope, ready to vote.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained?
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Okay,
let the work begin.
let the work begin. And that Ian and run that by Ian to draft that letter in soft way. And any, if you'd like to comment, no, if in the letter, just say if people have any comments, direct them to Ian. And his number.
You put that in after he helps you with the letter,
Yeah,
so it's
after.
a surprise.
Okay, review of the meeting minutes.
Well, actually, there's a little bit more to
Okay,
that
I'm
agenda
sorry.
item. That I mentioned in my report, that if you recall, at the previous meeting, we, the Water Commission / Select Board approved some of these adjustments to the special charges in the Appendix B. And I just am proposing a slight adjustment to that. One is to remove the reference to residential and just call it 3/4 inch at 1850 and 1 inch at 2150. And one thing I realized after the fact was that for meters 1 inch or greater than 1 inch, there's no baseline to measure from, because it talks about just being calculated at the time of the application. Calculated based on what exactly? Because the others, those other two rates, the 3/4 inch and the 1 inch, include other variables within that number, including the cost of the meter, the water operator's time. And so I'm suggesting that we set a base rate, just in general, anything over 1 inch, be at 2150. And then that's the base of what the differential of the actual cost of the other stuff that's more expensive. As Jill pointed out, oftentimes those types of meters and units require more things like a backflow preventer, which are expensive. And so that would be added, but the baseline would be the 2,150.
Is that defined what's included in that number?
Well, yeah, the 8 hours of water operator time. For the other two, the 3/4 inch and the 1 inch, it's the cost of the meter
Just.
In review of the application.
and review of the application.
So none of the accessory stuff that goes with the meter.
Well, yeah, the appurtenance is the typical stuff for residential. But it occurred to me as I was trying to apply this to a current application that there are probably, I mean, I don't know that there's a non-residential connection fee, so I didn't see.
Which is why you want to take out residential.
Right, for example, a meter pit. What would a meter pit be calculated at? Because it requires its own meter, it's gonna be read separately. And so that was part of my example in thinking that there needs to be another or an additional baseline from which to calculate the additional expenses.
Well, so do we want to put in? I mean, since we've just talked about breaking it into our residential and non-residential, is there? Do you want to have that specified instead of taking out residential? Would you leave that in and then have a non-residential, or do you think?
Well,
it's just
if
the
an
same?
office, if a new office space goes in.
Right.
you know, is this,
If
it's still the same cost of the
if it's
meter.
3/4, it's the
Yeah.
same, but if
Right.
it's, if it's bigger, then there's obviously.
Like all earth renewables, what was that classified in terms of them connecting to the water? Is it just a 1 inch, or whatever
I
it
don't
was?
remember with
They're
them.
not, no, they're 6 inch, aren't they? They're 6 inch, aren't they, Joe? Cause they got sprinkler system, or do they?
So they have, this is what's neat, is they have a 4 or a 6 inch coming into the building because they're sprinklered, but their domestic water goes through just a 2 inch meter. They have the same exact meter that the high school has. And I only know it because I had the meter for the high school. They needed a meter for their project before the high school was ready for me to shut their water down and do the install. So they bought another meter for the high school and we sold them the meter that we had. So they're identical. They're 2 inch, they're
It's the same
iPearl.
one?
Yeah, they're the blue metal, like super heavy duty, accurate, high accurate 2 inch meter.
So
Probably the same thing that's in the fire station.
Yeah, yeah. So basically what we've been doing is having to order all these things and send like a bunch of different bills to everybody for all these pieces and parts, or specify to them what they are. It kind of makes more sense to just up to 1 inch, we kind of know what the cost of everything is and we can cover it. It's when it gets 2 inch and bigger, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the 6s, they're incredibly expensive. And they just keep going up. I haven't seen, I don't know, everything I've seen lately in water just is like $10 more, $20 more, $1,000 more. And all I did was like blink and slept for a night. So I'm pretty uncomfortable putting like a fixed number on the bigger stuff because it's more complicated. It's kind of more like the development that came in today. It's just more complicated, or a business that's got chemicals on the other side of the water that could be a backflow prevention issue. It's got to be a team effort between the water system and the developer on how to come up with the right stuff to get them connected safely.
And so for the purpose of an application, when somebody comes in the door, that baseline that I'm suggesting at least gets them in the door.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's the 3/4 inch at 1850 and the 1 inch at 2150. But then does everything else you have underneath the fee for connections greater than 1 inch will be calculated at the time of application?
That's what was approved last time.
Okay.
That's what I'm suggesting we change.
Okay, so what would you like to see there then, given that Jill just said it's maybe hard to calculate?
Without knowing exactly
Right.
what they need.
So at the very least, it would be the 2,150.
Okay,
Because we know that if it's more than 1 inch, then it's at least that much.
okay.
And so whatever else needs to be included.
But you're
After the
still
fact.
gonna have to figure that at the time of application. Or you want the $2,000 when they come through the door.
Right, so I'm suggesting
Okay.
that the 2,150 gets paid when they come through the door.
Okay,
And then the rest of all that stuff will get billed separately.
so you could say the fee for connections greater than 1 inch is calculated at 2150, or at
Plus.
a baseline of 2150, or a starting point of 2150.
Yeah, the language is in the report.
Oh, it is? Wait, whose report?
Mine.
Well, that's what I'm reading right now.
Oh, okay.
You know, that kind of
Oh,
actually makes
sorry,
sense.
yes.
That
Okay,
kind of makes sense. It's like, it's just that you'd almost have to like back out the cost of the meter or understand that something larger than that is just going to be more complicated. But I guess if you backed out the cost of the meter, you could state that the first, whatever, $500 of that 2,150 is going towards that meter, and anything above and beyond will be billed to them. It's just, we're trying with those fees to get the like administrative task of having to do lots of different bills. Like it's almost, and what we keep writing in all these approvals is that they have to supply it and they have to pay for it.
okay. Yeah, I'm fine. I see I was reading what it actually is, but yeah, remove the reference to residential meters. Establish 2150 as the baseline application fee for meters greater than 1 inch. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, yeah, because that still includes the 8 hours of water
Yeah.
operator time and a baseline for what the larger meter would typically
Yeah.
cost.
Yeah, because I feel if we don't have that, then we're losing. And we
Or
have,
flailing.
we have been in the past, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fine to me.
Oh, good.
Does that sound fine to you
Yeah,
guys?
I'm
Okay,
Now that I get what she's,
yeah. I just have to read the next paragraph. Oh, it's right there. Okay, yeah. Great.
So we're gonna strike the word residential, we're gonna put 3/4 inch meter
Mhm.
at 1850.
And then-
1 inch meter at 2150. I think it ought to say, kind of like you go when you order a lobster in Maine house in the middle of the summer, it says market rate.
No,
Cause you could,
Oh, yeah.
the price of these things
Right,
could
well,
go
which
through the
still,
roof.
but still,
yeah.
the challenge for us is what to tell somebody.
The
when they
minimum
walk
is
in the door.
$21.50, and if
Yeah.
it comes in at $2,400,
Right.
you're paying that.
Yeah, you don't have your app, which is like, let me just calculate that market rate for,
Yeah.
for water line connections.
Right.
Oh, it's
No,
5,000 now.
I'm saying just to buy it.
Mhm.
All right,
Uh,
yeah.
my
I mean, I
budget
think
is-
those numbers cover a pretty good amount.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay,
cool. Motion?
is that part of, we made a motion for the water rates?
Right, this is separate.
yeah, this is separate and we have
Bill.
to change this changes the ordinance,
Correct.
No, just the appendix.
the appendix.
Okay.
It changes something.
Right, right, which
Do
does
we-
not require an ordinance.
Do we need to accept the changes that were made prior to this?
We
You did
that.
last time.
We did,
already.
okay.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to accept the new adjustments regarding 3/4 inch and 1 inch residential or meters
No.
pricing, and as well as the connections for greater than 1 inch.
Yeah, removing the residential
Correct.
residence.
Sorry.
There's a second, any more comments? I'm gonna ask you, Jessica, you got any comments? You heard our discussion?
Nope.
Well, you're just a
She's good. She's good.
talkative one tonight.
Getting through it.
Okay, any other? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now can we do 5?
Yes, please.
Review of meeting minutes. Let's see, we only got August
Yeah, just the 26th.
26th. Okay, so somebody wants motion, or you wanna wait?
Motion to accept is printed.
Second.
The motion is second, it's printed. Jessica, you got any changes for them? Are you okay with those?
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Staying? Okay.
Thank you.
Authorize accounts payable warrant and any liquor license. I didn't see any liquor license.
No.
And warrant is $141,884.86. It requires some signature.
There wasn't anything in there that was big.
Okay. Right. And then we got this thing that we voted on already. I signed it. Bristol Core grant. Okay, Selectboard roundtable. We'll start with you, Jessica. We'll have to give you more than, yep, I'm all set, or 2 words, I'm all set. No, go ahead.
The library has put out the position for the children's librarians. They're recruiting for that. And so that is their big news for right now.
All right. Anything else for us?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thanks. Ian.
Let's see. I'm working with Energy Committee folks and Regional Planning Commission on the MERP implementation, which is the energy resiliency grant. And so that's more information is coming thick and fast, and we're getting help from an outside company to sort of look through our reports for the 3 buildings and see what we want to do in terms of implementation if we get that grant. Working on IT upgrades for the hub, since it's sorely lacking over there. I'm working with Chris Merchant to try to get a fiber connection to that building so they can get a little bit faster speeds. So he's gonna put in that, hopefully that'll work, and that'll get approved on their end. I think fiber is near there, it's just not to the building. And then along with that, they have grant money to just update a couple of their wireless Wi-Fi systems. At the moment, cameras are using that, and so it's pretty slow, and there's lots of computers being used, lots of handheld devices, and so I'm working on to improve that. And then I'm gonna do an update for everyone here for the unified development regulations, just to go through the changes that we've gone back and forth over the last 3 or 4 meetings to get everything in order, and I've got that. And then I'll send out the documents this week, so then we'll see. It's not much, was little things here and there, but just so we can all see like, oh, that's what happened in this meeting, that's what happened in this meeting, and where we are right now. But we're pretty close to having them actually voted on, which is nice. And then the last thing is I'm working on, again, working through the technology side of things, trying to find a potential way for us to be able to manage projects a bit better. I'm experimenting with a web platform called Basecamp, which has been around for a long time. And it seems like it might be useful for us. It's a fairly inexpensive, it's a monthly cost or a yearly cost. You can add any number of users that you pay for, similar to doing Office 365 or something like that. But you can also have a client side that clients don't have to pay. They don't have full control, but as a select board member, you can have access to things, post and do that. So Basecamp, essentially, you can set your project up, you can have things connected to a project, which might be documents, could be to-dos, a schedule, a message board, things like that. So it might be a useful way for us to be able to see these projects and have all of us be on the same page and access them and see stuff as it goes along. So I'm looking for people to sort of share that with, to sort of test it out, to see. It's the one that I found that's the simplest for us. Everything else seems to be way too complicated. Our main thing is that we send a lot of emails that get lost or hard to find. You can send emails to this and be able to capture that. And then we have all these documents that are kind of in places that not all of us can access. So it's like, can we put those things together as a project to be able to see something from start to finish? So sort of experimenting with that. That's what I've been up to.
Okay. I'll step away from the table and just, I'd like to be put on, my wife and I'd like to be put on the agenda for the next meeting for finishing our water taps. So I talked to Jill on Thursday when they were doing from the main to the 2-inch sidewalk box. Was you guys, the water commissioners only gave me permission to get that in because of the digging in the road. And couldn't do the rest until we had the water from the state, the water.
Yeah, your wastewater.
Wastewater. That is being done, and that probably won't be into the middle of October. Not that we gotta dig in the road anymore, we're done. But why don't we just do it, but with the stipulation, we can't turn the water on until you have the wastewater permit. And then there's another thing, my attorney will be notifying you guys, there is an easement. An old water line easement from the corner of Liberty to the Plank Road, and it's still in the deed. And he says, you're gonna want to get that removed because, and Jill says, yeah, that customer it's now being serviced from the new 6-inch main, now say new, in the last 20 years on Plank Road.
The two.
There's 2 of them. One, but the deed only states one of them, so I don't know why.
Halleck and Bedard, well, it was Halleck, Bedard and Purrington. All 3 of them were on it.
Online. Anyway, we need to put on that for the next one. So, okay, I don't have anything else. Valerie, town administrator.
No,
report.
did you know?
Oh, sorry, Peter, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I don't have anything.
No, sorry.
On the online and on the tier report, there's a bunch of other business documents, just mostly FYIs. Copy of the letter that Kevin Brown sent to the school about School Street. Updates from David Brin about the Seth Hill Waterworks project, and that's moving along. Shared with you, notice that we were awarded the scoping study grant through the bike ped program for V-Trans to study the West Street sidewalk.
Awesome.
What's
When did we get that?
What?
When did we get that?
Well, it was just a letter of award. We can't actually do anything until we get the grant agreement. We haven't seen that yet. Yeah, we just got it last week.
Don't get nervous.
No, I just, trying to keep track of whether we're getting money in,
Yeah.
whether we have to wait for it.
Yes, wait, we still haven't gotten the grant agreement for the Airport Drive new sidewalk for design and construction
So
of a new sidewalk.
why is that?
We nag, they're just busy.
Okay,
We were awarded that in April. We still don't have it.
so for the new scoping study award, what's the next stage of that? Is that an RFP?
Grant agreement.
Grant agreement?
Yeah, and I think we'll need to designate a municipal project manager, so we'll have to decide whether whether we need to hire that out or whether it can be done in-house.
Okay,
And get that lined up. And
well, so, but that, wouldn't that be an RFP for a firm to do the?
if we wanna
scoping?
hire it out, yeah,
Oh, I see.
or it can be done in-house.
An in-house scoping study for that?
The municipal project manager.
Oh.
The grant program requires a municipal project manager.
For the scoping
Well,
study?
actually, maybe not for maybe I'm getting confused with the airport drive one, because the
Okay.
airport drive one, that's through the transportation alternatives program, and that requires a municipal project manager.
Because we're moving towards actually doing that project.
Right.
This one is a grant agreement for the
It's just
scoping
a
study.
scoping study.
Okay, so the next thing will be an RFP for.
Right, similar to what we did for Munsell Avenue.
Okay, so I can work on that,
Yeah,
maybe, and free to
super,
too.
and actually can probably just take the Munsell Avenue and wanna go
Exactly.
change
Yeah.
the names and street
great.
references and, yeah, some of the
Excellent.
stuff.
Yeah, that'll be a big one just because of the complexities of
Oh,
how,
no.
even just out here, so
I
that's
know,
great. But yeah, I'm happy to work on that.
Super. And one thing that got left off was, it's online, but I didn't include it in my report, is that everybody's invited by Tri-Valley Transit to the ribbon cutting on it's on the 16th.
Yeah.
Where does it say? What does it say?
Yeah, 16.
Oh, yes, 16th at 10 o'clock over at by Shaw's, to ribbon cutting for the bus shelter, and then 10:30 over on Firehouse Drive for ribbon cutting for that one.
Have all the permits for Firehouse Drive for that bus shelter been authorized?
I have no idea.
It's up in the air. It's beyond my scope of it. I think they are, but I wouldn't dare say yes.
Okay, I will check with AZ.
Yeah.
I hope they have,
Yeah.
because they put a bus shelter there.
I was gonna say, it's been there.
I mean, we did the one, I know we did the one for Shaw's, because I.
It's obviously a portable structure, so,
Right.
but it's
I mean,
over 8x8.
David's got some equipment, he can move it if it needs to be, so I'll check with AZ on that.
And sent off the capital improvement plan to the state for the downtown designation renewal. And sent it out broadly to folks here for feedback, and with the deadline of next Wednesday to get back to me.
Cool, that's great.
Any other?
That's
Any
enough.
other? Any correspondence received or besides what you put in your report? Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
9 o'clock on the dot.
All those, there's no discussion, any of those, all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
9:01.
Thanks, Jill, thanks, Steve.
9 o'clock.
See you later, Jimmy. Thanks, Jessica.
See ya. Sharon, did you get that check?